What's going on, Drinking Buddies? Brand new podcast coming right at you. But real quick, you know what we got to do first. We got to have a word from our sponsors. Those fine folks that bring you me and this podcast every fucking week. First and foremost, we are brought to you by the video versions of this podcast. That's right. Experience the madness in full HD on Vimeo for 99 cents an episode or $6 a month. Unlimited streaming gets you all 96 episodes that are up right now. That's a lot of value for your $6 fucking. Watch them as many times as you want. Check that out today at anwd.net/videos. Once again, that is anwd.net/videos. We're also brought to you this week by my Twitch stream. That's right. I am Twitch streaming 5 nights a week at twitch.tv/MattFandSlayer. Come hang out. Make me do some shots. Hang out in the chat. It's a good fucking time. I appreciate any support you can throw my way on the Twitch stream. Come hang out. Once again at twitch.tv/MattFandSlayer. And last but certainly not least, we're brought to you by our friends at Vinyl Me Please. Vinyl Me Please is the Record of the Month Club. The best damn Record of the Month Club. Vinyl Me Please features one album that is essential to the modern vinyl collection. It comes packaged with things like bonus tracks, inserts, colored variants. It also comes packaged with an album-inspired artwork and custom cocktail pairing recipe. What? You heard me right. Rad vinyl with awesome bonuses, some art for your wall, and a new way to wet your whistle. How can you beat that? And Vinyl Me Please isn't like Record of the Month clubs of old. It's month to month, no strings attached, cancel anytime. Sign up today at www.joinvmp.com/ANWD. Once again, that is www.joinvmp.com/ANWD. My guest this week is my fucking former co-host, Annie fucking Cruz, is back on the show for one day only. That's right. Cruz and I catch up, just talked about a bunch of bullshit Twitch, what we've been doing in the pandemic, a whole lot of shit. It was a lot of fucking fun catching up with Cruz. Hope you enjoy it. Sit back, relax, pop a cold one, and enjoy, Drinking Buddies. Fucking Cruz, what up?
What up, dude? Long time no talk.
Right?
Or see.
Right? Definitely more recently talked than see. It's been...
True. Also, yes.
Beauty of Twitch. Beauty of Twitch.
Exactly. Especially in a time right now, man. Tell you what.
Right.
Goddamn.
Okay.
What are you drinking there, buddy?
W.L. Weller, Special Reserve. I got into the good bottle.
Yeah, I cannot tell you the last time I actually had a glass of hard liquor. It's been a very, very, very long time.
Why? Why do you hate yourself?
I honestly, dude, I don't know. It's funny. It's interesting because, when I talk to friends and other people since, we're almost coming up a year into this pandemic, right? And so many people like to make jokes like, I'm coming out of this the biggest alcoholic. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what else can you do than sit at home and drink? I've done the opposite. I don't know. I just kind of, it's been a couple of years since I've stopped drinking the way I used to. Like, we're going on like over 3 years now of me not drinking like I used to. And like, don't get me wrong. I don't like using the word sober because I'm not sober, right? And plus I feel like there's a negative connotation when you do say that to people, but it's not like I don't indulge in like a glass every now and again. You know what I mean? Like if I'm with friends, obviously now, again, we're in a pandemic, but like if I'm virtually hanging out with people and I want to have a glass of wine, I'll fucking have a glass of wine. But I can't remember the last time I had a glass of whiskey. It's been a long time.
It's probably about the time she stopped being the co-host.
Stopped what?
Stopped being the co-host of this show.
Oh, probably. No. God, it's been a very long time. Holy shit.
Yeah, you were... October of 17 was like the last time you were officially like part of the cast.
Okay, no, I definitely had hard liquor after that, but definitely, regardless, it's still been a long time.
Well, yeah.
Very, very long time.
Your liver probably thanks you for stopping being the co-host of the show.
Oh God, dude. I remember doing the show with you and thinking, what are we drinking now? And then like certain days where I'd be like, I need to slow my roll. And then there'd be other days where I would show up. Do you remember when I showed up drunk
A couple
already?
times.
Like, all right, let's do the show.
Let's do the show. Let's get just fucking. Oh, I mean, some of the shows where you were the co-host were so fucking lit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think my liver definitely thanks me for those days.
We've been trucking on without you. Somehow you're still dearly missed, but
I mean, I feel like you've been kind of rocking it though on your own, dude. That's pretty cool shit, man. You know what I'm saying?
had to. There was no replacing you. There was no getting another co-host after you left.
That actually warms my cold heart. I know it was rough because it was like, having to make these decisions and whatnot and like what to do. And then of course I had my podcast that followed that is now on hiatus for who knows how long. But now I have another podcast again. And in all honesty, I did not think that I would like be a part of another podcast, like much less run one on my own. I guess the difference now is the podcast that I'm a part of now, I don't have to worry about post-production stuff. Whereas with Advanced Cruise Control and Going Over, I was the one that pretty much did all the post-production work on everything. And that kind of takes up a lot of time. So when I was approached to join the stable over at Wrestlefetish, formerly Store Horseman, I signed on. It was kind of like a no-brainer. I was like, sure, fuck it, why not? And it's kind of nice to not have to be in charge of, like having to deal with, oh God, I got to get this and that and the other thing done. So it's pretty much where I'm at now as far as podcasting goes.
Hell yeah. It was definitely much easier to just show up and be the talent. Like,
yeah, like, all right, I'm here, guys.
part of me tells me like, maybe one day I'll get to that point, but you've worked with me. It's like, do you really think I'm going to not do the post work? Like,
yeah, and in all honesty, I enjoyed doing the post-production work, but as I said, like kind of takes a toll on you when it's time consuming and then like, oh, did I fuck up this and having to make notes and all this kind of stuff. And then like, I'd be lying if I said that, now, I mean, we're only like 5 episodes in with my new podcast. Part of me has a little bit of FOMO with like being a part of the post-production process where I'm like, if you need any help, guys, I'm here. But at the same time, I already have so much going on my plate as it is, which is kind of weird to say when, we're all stuck at home, right now, but I do. So I don't know. It's kind of nice though. And I mean, technically when I did the podcast with you, you did all the post-production stuff. So I was kind of in the same boat with you where you kind of dealt with everything. So
yeah, that's always been like, oh yeah, I'll do the post-production work. That's why I could never see a show that I'm a part of where I'm like, I'm not doing the post work. Even if I got to the point where I could pay somebody, I'd probably be like, no, still doing the post work on this.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have control of, your own product, basically. You know what I mean? So I don't blame you on that end.
That's right, people. When this is all fucked up, it's all my fault. It's like, oh, hey, that sounded like shit. Like,
But have you ever edited a podcast and then like forgot to cut something out and uploaded it and then listened to the playback? I guess I should have prefaced this question with, do you ever listen to what you put out there after you've already put it out?
Not unless someone hits me with a comment like, what the fuck, dude? Because I definitely...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I definitely got one... it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, where neither I or the guest said anything, but like a mutual friend of me and the guest was like, yo, that story was about me. I would really prefer if that was not out there. Like, we didn't name names.
Wait, were names named?
No name. You know how I roll. No names.
Well, yeah,
named.
that's what I figured. So it's almost kind of like, well, I mean, they don't know it's you. So did you end up cutting it out, or did you say fuck it because they didn't mention the name?
I ended up cutting it because it was though the name wasn't mentioned. There were descriptors where it was like, oh, that's an identifiable thing about that person. If you know that person, you know who it is. To the random audience, they'd have no clue. But
anybody else that listens that's in that friend group, they'd be like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
so I could in that
folk, like
in that defense, yeah, I could totally understand that. Because me, when with my old podcast with Going Over, I remembered That's why I started taking notes because, like you can rant with a co-host for hours or whatever, but to go back and remember everything that was discussed, I had to start doing like time codes on paper whenever we would record if there was something that happened or we had to cut. Because I remembered one time, this only happened once, where I uploaded an episode and then I happened to listen to the playback, which I didn't always listen after I had uploaded it. This just happened to be one of those things where I was like, I'm gonna listen to the podcast. And then I realized there was 15 minutes where we were supposed to pause, or we did pause, but we were kind of like talking about random shit and then went back into it. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell? So then I deleted it and had to like recut it and put it back up. And that's when I realized I should probably start taking notes on when I should be editing stuff. So that was fun. That was a fun learning experience as far as like making sure I remembered to cut things where I needed to cut them. Luckily, nobody said anything, that we didn't want put out there.
Yeah, nothing too scandalous. I think the other worst one I did was I cut something out of the timeline that I wasn't sure if I was going to take out or not, and dumped it at the back of the timeline, compressed it, like, put the timeline together, and then forgot to cut that tail end of it off. So it was like 4 or 5 minutes of dead air at the end of it. And then like what I would cut out, just if you like a
randomly at the end.
Yeah, like one of those old school like bonus tracks on a CD, like dead air, dead
Yeah,
dead air.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then
like it's a dead air, and if anybody happens to still be playing like the podcast, all of a sudden, what the hell? What is that?
It's like, what's
this
the
a secret?
Yeah. Secret bonus time with Slayer was shit that was supposed to be on the cutting room floor.
That's funny. That's really funny. So what have you been up to, man? Other than the podcasting, man?
Well, shit. I, much like you, have been embracing that Twitch stream grind.
I feel like everybody just flocked to Twitch when a lot of this shit went down. Even like people in the adult industry, they were like, oh, I'm going to go on Twitch.
Oh, I know.
It's like fucking wild, man. Wild.
And the thing about it is, like, you know me, I've always been a fucking gamer, but I tried Twitch streaming like maybe 3 times in 2016 to no audience and immediately got discouraged.
That it's very easy to get discouraged on that end. I mean, like I had a buddy who, when in the infancy of when I decided to do this full time, which was like over a year ago now, he was so ambitious. He went to the store, bought a webcam, asked me like, all the things, about like, what do I need to get? What do I need to do? And I tried to help him out, but he was very easily discouraged with the fact that like when he would go online, there'd only be, like less than 10 people viewing. And I had to, kind of explain to him, that's how it starts though. And you kind of have to, it's more, and I think the problem with people that do jump into streaming right away is they don't realize you have to grow your community by networking. It's not just, let me just turn this on, because when and especially depending on what game you are streaming, and I've learned this along the way, of course, depending on what, like if you're streaming a game like Call of Duty or Fortnite, where there's like hundreds of thousands of people viewing all these streamers, of course, you're going to get buried at the bottom of the list unless you get lucky and someone wants to raid you that decides to, you can browse by filtering out who has the least amount of viewers. And that's typically what a lot of people like to do is they'll go to the bottom and then be like, all right, let's raid this person and kind of just share the love, which is, it's phenomenal. It's great that that's even a thing. But I actually more recently had someone come to me for help as well. And he asked me a million questions and I helped him as much as I could. And unlike my buddy, he just flat out quit. He was just like, I'm done. Even though he like went and bought the stuff that he needed. He was like, I'm good. Just because he got so discouraged so easily.
Well, and it's much like that podcast grind. Like so many people come to like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. And they're like, I'm going to be Joe Rogan tomorrow. And then all of a sudden like, man, 100, not even 100 people are listening to my podcast. Like, oh, and then they get discouraged. Like, since I come from podcasting and I know what like the non-discoverable grind is all about. Like, I was just like, whatever, I'm going to grind this out. Like, I also am lucky that like people like you and some other people that I know that have more successful streams than me, like, your community's always been awesome to me. And it's just like, you just have to understand what you're here for. Like,
right.
You have to be like, oh, it's going to come eventually or it's not.
I think the whole thing too is to not think about it. You know what I mean? I think people go into it, the ones that easily get discouraged, I think they come into it with high expectations and thinking like, oh, this is going to be great. But then they see that there's like nobody watching, and then they're very quick to be like, well, fuck this. But I think the most important thing is to just not think about it. You just have to have fun. I think that's the problem, is that people aren't having fun. They're too busy concerning themselves with, is this going to grow? Oh, I haven't seen any changes and whatever. You know what I mean? And I think it's just all about going into it with no expectations and just having a good time with it, and then kind of seeing where it goes, on top of doing the grind of networking. Because I think the very important key thing to getting your, and this is what I tell a lot of people that ask me for advice, is to just find streamers that you relate to, man. Whether if it's a game that a certain streamer plays that you are into, or you also play, or just the community or the things that a streamer is into, chatting in the chat. I know some people are very, very antisocial, I guess, for a lack of a better word. Like they're too insecure to chat in the chat and say something. They just like to lurk, right? But what's great is that a lot of these streamers, myself included, there's Discord servers where it's essentially a web forum. Remember forums from back in the day on good old fucking websites and stuff, where you can like kind of meet people with the same interests as you, and then that's kind of how you put yourself out there, and just kind of like, a lot of people, I know a lot of the most common rules that streamers have is like, don't self-promote, right? But if you go into their Discord channels, typically a lot of streamers have a channel specifically for self-promotion, where people can go in there and be like, hey, check out my stream, I'm playing D&D or whatever it is that you're into. You know what I mean? So I think that's the problem with what a lot of people have when they try to get into it. It's like, I'm over it now. And like, for me, it was like that in the beginning, but I kind of went in just not giving a fuck. I was like, oh, there's 6 people. I'll never forget back in 2015. 2015 is when I first jumped on onto Twitch attempting to stream. And it was just for funsies. It wasn't even like, I had no intention of like trying to be a streamer. I just kind of hopped on and was like, let's see what this is all about. And I had like, I don't know, like 10 people watching, and it was like, whatever. And then fast forward fucking 5 years, not even 5 years, 4 years later. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And then you just got to grind. It's a hustle. It's definitely a hustle.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a hustle. It's definitely a grind. And like, though I don't have the biggest numbers in the fucking world, like, it's been a steady uptick. And it also is really, on my end, caused me to step up my game on some of my production work. Like, because I've always done like a little bit of video editing. I've been video editing the video version of this forever, but it's like, oh well, I'm now creating YouTube content out of the fucking streams. And for those of you who have not tuned into any of the YouTube content, my Fortnite content's weird. Like, it's straight up weird. Like, I drop in video clips from movies and audio from other video games, and like a video I put up like a week ago has a full-on dance number from Marshmello in it. Like, I'm just like, I realize that I'm making content, especially with Fortnite, that the people who play Fortnite generally are too young to get, and the people that are old enough to get the jokes have no interest in Fortnite.
Dude, isn't it insane how like Fortnite really has, I don't even know how to put this, a very young community. And I mean, like, I've accidentally gotten thrown into a squad match where I was with randoms that had their mics on, and they would start talking, and you're like, how old are you? Are you like 6? Oh my God. Does anybody have a mic on? Is your mic on? Can you hear me? And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm leaving.
Right? Oh. I don't do this anymore, but it used to be like you could just join in my party, and there was definitely a stream where there was like 4 of us on, and we're all fucking adults. We all know each other. It's like the normal Monday night shit, and we're like, talking about sex, drugs, rock and roll while we're playing Fortnite. And like some fucking minor who was a family member of one of the people playing jumped in, and it's just like, kid, your balls haven't dropped. You should not be here. Like, kick the kid, because I'm a party leader. Kid came right back. Like, just would not fucking leave. It's just like, stop. We're going to talk about things that you do not need to hear.
That's funny because I think it's funnier when I run into underage kids on Call of Duty because they will literally because I have it like things are so different now than they were fucking God 10 years ago. Where like whereas 10 years ago you'd be forced to hear the other team unless you like went in and actually muted everybody, right? Like I don't want to hear your shit, so I'm just going to mute you. So it was almost there was like no party system at all. Like, oh, okay, you could just hear everybody. And now on like all the consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, you have like a party room now where you can like make it so that nobody can hear you except for your own party. But you also have the option of like turning on public chat so that you can hear other people. And usually when I, get curious and I turn on public chat and I hear all these boys that sound like little girls talking about how like I'm a piece of shit, even though I whooped the shit out of them score wise. I'm just like, dude, come back to me when your balls have dropped. Holy shit. It's hilarious.
See, I don't know why you would do that to yourself. Like, I don't know at what point you're so bored in your day that you're like, yeah, I'm going to go see what the fucking 12-year-olds have to fucking
dude,
say.
I actually laid into this one guy once. He definitely wasn't, I don't think he was a minor. At least he didn't sound like a minor. But he was talking such massive shit that if he was a minor, his mom would probably fucking ground him for a month with the way he was talking. But like, I wanted to mess with him. So it was even funnier. Because occasionally I'll do this just, because I like to be shitty. And, my friend started it by talking shit to him. So I stayed out of it. I was like, I don't even want any part of this shit. And then with the way they were talking to him, I was like, I have to hear what this guy is saying. So I turned on public chat and he was talking such massive shit that I can't even remember. I actually have been meaning to clip this and you'll probably see the clip when I do post it because it was too good. And I can't remember what happened, but he said something and then I started laying into him because he said something about like women or whatever. And I'm like, I am a female, because that's the one thing that people try to attack me for is being a female on Call of Duty. And I said, bro, because he was on our team. I forgot to mention this part. He was on our team. So I turned on public so I could hear him because he was on our team. And he was talking, because we were playing hardcore mode. So he was talking shit about getting accidentally shot. And then he finally accidentally shot me. So then I turned it on. And I can't remember what was said that like made me go off on this rampage, but I basically started talking about how like his mother doesn't love him and how like his dad says hi. So just kind of stuff of that nature. And then I said it was really weird too because like your mom kept screaming your name every time she came. I don't know, it was kind of weird, dude. And I just saying like really ridiculous like shit like that he just got really quiet and was like. And all he could say to all of that was, you're weird. It was just kind of like, oh, man. Good times. Good times.
Don't bring the noise if you don't want it, kid.
I know. Because he wouldn't shut the fuck up. So then finally I started saying stuff, but I was saying it in a way where it was like I was being serious, like, oh, yeah, your mom this, your dad, da, 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 da. And then he just got really quiet. And then he was just like, you're weird. And I'm like, that's all you can say to me, huh? Is that I'm fucking weird. And I am weird.
See, like I'm already going through shit in my head that I'd be saying to this kid, like, yo kid, what do you want for your birthday? Your mom and I are going to get you something special this year. I'm your dad now.
That's funny.
Dude, I just have no tolerance for, I don't public play anything. Like Fortnite, I only squad up with people I know, like, and I'll do not fill if we don't have enough people, or I'll just do fucking solos. Like, I have no tolerance for playing with fucking randoms at this point.
No.
And also, in the back of my head, like, because almost anything I do, especially in Fortnite, is intended to become YouTube content at some point. The last thing I want is to tear into some fucking kid and then put it on YouTube and then be like, you don't have rights to my voice or some shit. Take that down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which is so weird because I feel like that's kind of like where is the gray area when it comes to like, creating content? Because nowadays there are games where you can do like streamer mode where it doesn't show other people's usernames, their screen names or whatever, their gamer tags, if you will. So I've always wondered about that because it's like, even if they're not talking and if I post a clip or something. Do you know anything about that? Like, as far as like,
on a personal level, I started having people in my community that I play with sign model releases to give me rights to their voice and so for YouTube content. Like, I just got a generic model release on my Discord that, like, hey, if you're going to play in any of my streams, I need you to sign this.
Interesting.
Like, I don't know if I have to, but it's a good CYA in my mind.
No, that's a very smart move as far as like making sure that everything is, legally in good legal standing, I suppose. Because like for me, whenever I play with, I play with subscribers every week. So what I typically do is I always put a disclaimer, like, here are the rules when, for sub. Because before it used to be I played with viewers, right? And that kind of got out of hand.
I wonder why.
Because well, yeah. Because also specifically because I don't want to be playing with underage kids. It's video games, we're having a good time. I just don't want any issues. Also, to have someone in a voice chat with me that sounds like their balls haven't dropped. Right. It makes me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And so I really struggled in the beginning when I first got into streaming full time. Like, do I want to make the age limit be 16? Like, what is the smarter move here? So then finally I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do 18 only. I'm a 36-year-old female. And it's like, how would someone feel if they found out that, like, it's one thing for someone to find out, oh, my son or my daughter was playing video games with a 36-year-old woman. But then what if they found out what this 36-year-old woman's past is? Then that becomes a little rocky, weird kind of situation I don't want to find myself into. Then it kind of turned into, all right, you have to be 18 plus. And then because I deal with a lot of people, a lot of trolls and stuff like that, I finally decided this is just going to be a sub only type thing, which has been working just fine. But I still have that disclaimer of, if you're going to play with me, you have to be okay with your voice being used on my streams. But I've never really done anything like you where I make people, sign something. I feel like that's a smart move.
I can shoot you over the model release. I just found one.
That sounds like a smart move, especially if you're like uploading content, which I'm going to be doing more of, because I feel like the one thing that I've been lacking lately, and that's because I've got so much going on now, especially going back to school and whatnot, finding the time to be able to cut content and putting it out there and whatever else.
Oh, I know. It's so fucking time consuming. I've talked about this on the show a bunch of times, but it's kind of wild to me. Like, I'm got so much more time in the day because I don't leave my fucking apartment.
Right.
And, I obviously stay up on this, but I used to be able to work a 9 to 5 or be on set and still get my content, out in time. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, oh, I'm just sitting around my apartment and I don't feel like I'm being productive enough, even though I'm still pumping out generally multiple videos a week, minus that month and a half gap there. Sorry, guys.
Shit happens, man.
Well, shit happens. And also primarily with the Fortnite videos, because I'm not just uploading gameplay, I'm adding to it and shit. You got to feel fucking creative about it. And also I was, with the Fortnite content, it was the people I regularly stream with getting their content, because I do it with multicam. I will go from my camera.
I've done that before.
To their camera. Yeah. And it's like, hey, motherfuckers, give me your goddamn content.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's got to be tough to be able to kind of get people on top of things as well. Like, hey, can I get this from you? And especially if there's multiple people involved, because I've dealt with that before too. And it's just like, okay, I quit, I give up, or I'm just not going to put your content in here.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's why I started doing other stuff. That's why I'm like, oh, hey, here's my solo Cyberpunk videos. Here's me playing Telltale games. It's just my stuff. Mm-hmm. Because it's I don't have to worry about anyone else's content getting to me in a timely fashion to get this out.
Right. Yep. Yeah, man. It's crazy how like what you were saying, being stuck at home. I still feel like sometimes I'm not keeping myself busy enough. It's I feel like I've got so much going on, which I do, but at the same time, a part of me always feels like I'm not busy enough. But it's this is all I do. I'm at home. What the fuck?
What I've realized about it is I feel like it's because none of it's scheduled time.
Right.
Because
right.
Both of us pre-pandemic had some sort of fucking Joe job on top of all the content creation we were doing.
Right. Actually, that's a very, very valid point, because I feel like having a schedule, obviously it's less chaotic, right? There's more structure involved. You're like, okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, yada, yada, yada. Whereas now, it's like you get up and you're like, oh, I have nowhere to be. This is it. I'm going to do my own schedule. So it's like now I'm finding myself having to, it's interesting because in the beginning of the pandemic, I felt like I had a pretty well-structured schedule. Like my boyfriend and I would get up in the morning. I would get a workout in, knock that shit out like ass early too. I would get up at like 7, 8 in the morning, get my workout done, and then get on my stream, start streaming for, several hours, and then that be that. And then, end the evening with some reading. And like, I felt like, and we were even learning French together. Cause we were like, okay, we're stuck at home. What can we do to utilize our time? Right. And that went well for several months. And then it got to a point where, you start to get stir crazy a little bit. And then I felt like my schedule kind of just fell apart a little bit, where it was like, at one point I was like, okay, I'm getting up and I'm doing things. I had like a ritual, going. And then it went to a point where it was like, oh God, oh, what am I going to do today? Oh God, like I have to be somewhere. No.
Oh
man, the struggle is real.
It is. And I think like, at least for myself, I'm sure you can relate. In the before times when we had those Joe jobs to work around, it's like, oh, I know I have this window to get content done. So like,
right.
I have to get it done when I have this free time. Now it's like, I can procrastinate a little bit.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Because it's like you said, it forces you like, okay, I have until Friday. I have to do this. You know what I mean? And then the day slowly approaches like, all right, I got to get this done. I have until this time. This is my deadline. Right. And then now, because you have all the time in the world, that could wait. Like I could do that tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes, and then you're like, you know what? I could probably do that tomorrow too. And then next thing you know, fucking 2 weeks pass, and you're like, shit, I probably should have done that. Maybe not 2 weeks, but you get what I'm saying.
100%. I mean, and now we drink because we have the hard like Thursday noon deadline. It's always out at Thursday noon, but it used to be like when I was working, like it was done Monday night. Thursday's episode was done. Like,
wow, yeah, days in advance.
Yeah,
right?
I used to be on top of shit. It is now, we're recording this at like Tuesday early evening. This week's episode is not done. It is not done. Like, I worked on it a little bit last night. I had every intention of waking up this morning before this to work on it. I woke up this morning and then decided to soak in a bath and surf YouTube for a while. And then I'm like, I'm hungry. I went and got food. I came back. I'm like, oh, it's like an hour before recording time. I'm not going to really fire up Premiere to start editing right now. I'm going to have a cigar. And then here we are. And I've done nothing.
You know what you need to do? Well, at least this works for me, is now when I need to get something done, I try to give myself a reward. Okay, if you finish this, you can have that Kit Kat bar that's sitting on your fucking side table, but you have to finish this first. So it's almost like you have to be like, all right, you got to finish editing this podcast. Then you can have that cigar in the past. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of how I have to like convince myself to get shit done. And I recently just started going back to school. And this is a perfect example because the semester just started last week. So what's today? Tuesday. So a week ago yesterday. Semester started and, it's been 18 years since I've been to school, and I've never experienced like taking courses online. Right. And, my God, and I texted this to you briefly the other day, like shit is so fast paced, man. Like I spent all morning, and I was being very precious, I will admit that, with like my homework assignment when I could have just gotten it done in 15 minutes. Instead, it took me 3 hours. Like, you know what I mean? I was like thinking too deep. I was overthinking things, to say the least. But I'm finding myself now, because the example that I just gave a moment ago, I did that to myself this morning. Because I kept sitting here, I'm at my desk, I'm twiddling my thumbs. Oh God, how am I going to answer this question to this assignment? And I'm sitting here thinking. Then I would start typing something, and then I would stop, and I would start thinking. And then I would get up, and I would start wandering. And I'm like, it's not due till midnight tonight. So I was like, I started telling myself, oh, you can finish it after the podcast. And I was like, no, 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 no. So then I had to put my foot down and be like, no, you have to finish this assignment before you do this podcast with Slayer. And if you do it, you can have that Kit Kat bar that's sitting on your side table. So God damn it, I finished the fucking assignment 3 hours later. And then I ate that goddamn Kit Kat bar. So now I don't have to worry about finishing it after the podcast.
See, I have problems with delayed gratification. I just eat the Kit Kat and be like, meh, I'll get around to it.
Yeah. See, I used to have that problem, but now I'm like, okay, strong willpower. Cruz, strong willpower. You can do this.
Cruz, you know me. Like, is strong willpower what people know me for?
Fair.
Like, when you think strong willpower, do you think Matt Slayer? No, you do not.
I mean, typically I'd be like, all right, I'll just have one piece of the Kit Kat bar and I'll save the other 3 for later. But yeah, I struggled for a little bit, but I'm finding myself because I mean, like at the moment I only have 2 courses that I'm taking this semester. But a lot of it is you have assignments like my psychology class. All my assignments are typically due Thursday. And then my sociology class assignments are due on Wednesday. But then I have another assignment that's due on Saturday. So it's like my sociology class is more fast paced because it's only for the first 8 weeks of the semester. So any course that you take that's only for the first half or the last half, it's going to be more fast paced because it's a shorter amount of time for you to learn everything. So I totally get that. But man, part of me started regretting it. I was like, should I not have taken the 8-week course and should have went with 16? But whatever. I've actually calmed myself today after completing my first real assignment for this class. I felt very accomplished. So now I'm just kind of like, all right, I have another assignment due on Saturday. So when do I wait to do that? But also a lot of my professors kind of force you to not procrastinate because they deduct points when they see when you've completed the assignments because everything's online. So it's like if you wait to do everything all in one day, then they deduct points. And if you wait till the day before it's due or the day of, obviously they deduct points. So it's
That's bullshit.
Kind of forces me.
That's bullshit.
What?
That's absolute bullshit. This is a deadline. If I make it by the deadline, it's made by the deadline. Make the deadline earlier if the expectation is I have to get it in earlier. Fuck you for deducting points.
See, and you know what? I feel that same way too, dude, because like legit, this is just to give you an idea. So basically, because it's all online learning, right? They have because I don't do the meetings because they have different versions of online courses, right? They have the synchronous where you basically meet on Zoom, like how we are right now, and the teacher actually gives a lecture, right? So it's like you're sitting in class, but you're not physically there. You know what I mean? Whereas the courses that I'm taking, that you do it on your own time, and because of that, the teachers have all these stipulations where they're like, for example, this discussion board, the assignment is due on Thursday, but you must complete the assignment before Thursday. But you also have, this is the fucked up part, you have to respond, because it's a discussion board, you have to respond to 2 other students, right? But you can't do it on the same day that you yourself, answer the question to the discussion. So it's like if they're asking a question for the discussion board and I answer the question, I can't answer the question, but then go and respond to 2 other people. I have to wait a day or 2 because they don't want everything done all at once, which is kind of ridiculous to me because it's like, well, I mean, like I'm getting my homework done. Like, what's the problem? So they want you to like spread everything out, which I still don't understand.
Well, fuck
why.
Fuck that. It's like, oh, you're expecting me to be the goddamn overachiever and get it in first so I can participate. Because if I wait till the last minute, like, nah, fuck that. Like, set new deadlines if that's your expectation. It's like the same bullshit of like working in a restaurant industry where like, oh, if you're on time, you're late. No, move my fucking start time up then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, that is bullshit of like, oh, no. I know what we put on paper, what the expectation we told you is, but that's not really the expectation. No, tell me what your goddamn actual expectation is. Like,
that's why I read the fine print on the syllabuses, because it's like, they're like, oh, like they put a little diagram out like, oh, if you post by this day, then you get the full 6 points, for example, right? But then if you, respond to 2 classmates, it's an additional 2 points, and then and then it has to add up to 20. And if you wait till this day or whatever and only respond to one person, and also the others, obviously, if you post something that isn't insightful enough to, continue the conversation, the discussion, then we deduct more points. So it's just kind of like all jumbled together. It's like, just let me do the fucking assignment. Just let me answer the question. Let me respond to my classmates. And then you can decide on whether or not my answer to the discussion and what I've brought forth into the discussion is, plausible. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what keeps me on my feet, dude. I have to oh shit. It's Wednesday. I better go and see who I can, Oh, God. But yeah, good times.
In the grand scheme of things, I think it'll work out better for you, especially once you get acclimated, because it'll take the place of working a 9 to 5 where you have a schedule. So it'll be back to I have to get this done these times. I got to do this shit. I'll have to work around it to get my content done. I think it'll help your content game in the grand scheme.
Oh, no, absolutely, actually. I know I'm complaining about it now, but in all honesty, I think the whole point of me even bringing this up is that I do love that it kind of forces me to not just be productive, but to kind of set a schedule for myself. Okay, this needs to be done, and I'm going to, and I can't procrastinate because of that, which is great because procrastination is one of my my biggest faults. It's I'll wait till the day of, an hour before. I'm one of those, I'll wait till the hour before. Oh shit, I forgot to buy a goddamn birthday present for my nephew. Hold on a second. Let's go on to the store real quick the day of. I'm one of those.
You and me both. This year has, I've been self-employed for a couple of years now, but it's been self-employed, I had call times, I had to be on sets, I had clients that I was accountable to.
Right.
So that was still I'm self-employed, but I have to be here at this certain time. I know I'm going to be blocked out for this many hours for whatever. Mad props to those successful creators that are just no, I'm all self-contained. I'm not working for anybody else. I'm just doing my own thing and still fucking turn shit out.
Yeah, dude.
The struggle is fucking real. Anyone who's watching your favorite YouTube creator and holy fuck, that's the dream job. That's so fucking easy. No.
It really upsets me when people say that that's fucking easy. The haters, the trolls that are get a real job, because that's been said before, how many times have I seen trolls be get a fucking real job? What the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Or what you do is just too easy and la 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 la. And it's no, it's not. You try fucking sitting here and try to have a personality and entertain people while also trying to grind and continuously put yourself out there as well as content to to further what it is that you're trying to fucking do. I mean, it's just not fair when people say that kind of shit, man.
Yeah, streaming is a job where you literally could show up to work, put in an 8-hour day and technically lose money on the day. Because oh, hey, not a single sub, not a single bit came in. And I spent money on gear. I spent, the electricity to run this shit isn't free.
No.
I technically lost money on the day on providing entertainment for people.
Yep. It really is cost money to make money, man. Just back to my buddy that invested, got the camera, got the whole shebang, but then was very quick to be, I don't even think he gave it a week, if I remember correctly. I think he essentially gave up after a couple of days and then would occasionally kind of hop on, but it was more so just for the fun of it. And then just flat out quit because he was just I'm not really. It's because it's an ego thing for a lot of people. I'm not directing this to my friend. In general, it's an ego thing. When people see that the numbers are low, they're oh my God, do I suck? Or is it ever going to get better? And then they get impatient. And that's another thing too. It's not just ego. It's also patience. People don't have the patience to see things grow, I had a girlfriend who was dating someone who, she's a fashion designer, and she was dating someone that told her it's just a hobby, you're what are you doing? It's not going anywhere, you know what I mean? I think it was like 6 months after they had that conversation and they had already broken up at this point. Her company just fucking blew the fuck up. And she was pulling in numbers per month where I was just like, can I have some of that money?
Right?
Like, holy shit. And it's because she had patience. No matter how many times her ex like demeaned her and told her, your company is never going to go anywhere. Like, it's just a hobby. You should just quit now while you're ahead. You know, like you would think to anybody else that would make someone want to quit. Like, oh God, you're telling me I should quit. Maybe I should quit. But no, she said, fuck you, fuck that. I'm going to continue to pursue this. She was patient, and voila, she fucking is so successful. It's ridiculous how successful she's become, and she didn't allow anyone to tell her otherwise. And that's the problem with people when it comes to doing anything, especially, you know, with us specifically talking about streaming. Patience. People are too impatient. They're just kind of like, oh, I had 2 viewers, fuck this shit, I'm done, you know.
Well, and the other thing about it is there is zero wrong with doing this as a hobby. Like, you don't have to do this professionally. Like,
oh no, absolutely, yeah. If we're talking about that, I was just talking about her being a, but yeah, I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with doing this as a hobby.
I mean, and that's just a toxic partner, either fucking way, to be like, hey, you should stop doing this thing you love. Either way, if it's a hobby or it's a profession, telling you that, that's so fucking toxic. Like, oh hey, I love bowling. Like, I say I love bowling, which I own a ball and shoes. I don't love bowling, but like, like, Matt, you should stop bowling. It's never going anywhere. You're never going to be a professional bowler. Like, I don't want to be a professional fucking bowler. I just want to go get drunk and throw a ball down a lane for fun.
Right. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
That's toxic as fuck. And if you want to get into streaming just to do it as a fucking hobby, fucking do it. That's honestly the better way to go about it. Like, every fucking YouTube channel that is like, hey, I'm a mid-tier streamer, but I'm a giant successful YouTuber coaching people on how to be successful streamers, or like, don't spend money on it. And they're right. Don't fucking spend money on it unless you're like gun-ho as a hobby, or you're just like, I got money to burn.
Right. Because that's another thing too. People spend money and then they start complaining about it. I just spent all this money to upgrade this, that, and the other thing, and then I still only have 10 viewers. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, well, you know.
Yeah. See, I've at least lied to myself well and been like, any upgrade I've made to my stream is like, oh, I can use this for real production work too.
And that's the thing too, though. You know what I mean? Like, I have this mic that I use for my stream, and I know I can use it for my It's like a lot of the things that I use for my stream, I know I can use for other things as well, you know? So it's like a win-win either way, you know?
No, I'm right there with you. Yeah. Like, at the beginning of the pandemic, I built a new PC, and I'm like, this is an editing PC. Just because it happens to be able to play games.
It's fucking gaming PCs are beastly as fuck for those that are listening that like have no idea the power of like, you know, how powerful a lot of, like, my dad bought a gaming PC, but he uses it to edit videos. I'm like, Dad, why did you buy a gaming PC? And he's just like, oh, because, you know, the RAM and this and that. And he gets all technical on me. And I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
they're beastly fucking machines, man.
That's how I justified the amount of money. Like, I built a brand new system from the ground up at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm like, oh, y'all sending me $1,200? All right, that's a down payment on a PC. That's a down payment on a new PC. And then I built that because when I first started streaming, I was streaming on my Xbox. Hell, my early streams don't even have a face cam because like the Xbox didn't have one that you could use. Like, when you're streaming from the Xbox app, like, you have to get a third-party webcam, and then it's just like ugly webcam that you can't edit at all, just in the corner. Like, yep,
dude. That's what I hated about my earlier streams. My earlier streams, I streamed directly from my PlayStation, and you can't really. The only option it gives you for the camera is either upper left corner, upper right corner, bottom left, bottom right, and you can't really do much. You can't increase the size. You know, I mean, you could increase the size, but that was pretty much it, and it looked awful. And the thing that I hated, because this is before I ended up getting a gaming PC. I hated the fact that if I wanted to switch games, it would turn my stream off.
Yep.
Because if you're directly streaming from a console, you'd have to turn it off. And so if you have like 30 viewers streaming directly from your console and you're like, all right, let's switch games, guys, and you turned off your stream, you're going to lose all those viewers And, unless you tell everybody, I'm going to be right back. And even when I did that, when I would be like, I'm going to be right back, guys, don't go anywhere. Like, I would switch games and then I wouldn't have the same amount of viewers as they did before because they were like, oh, she turned off her stream, whatever. You know what I mean? Fucking sucked.
Oh, yeah. No, that shit sucked. Yeah, that shit sucked. Like, that's why I was like, nope, I need a capture card. I need, to actually have a PC to do this. And then from there, like, I had camera gear, so it was just trying to find a good solution for my webcam situation. And, for a while there, I was using a capture card and like one of the camcorders I use for in-studio podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I mean, this gives a okay picture. It's okay. I mean, the sensor's not huge on those things. At least I can, zoom and all that shit. And then I'm like, around Black Friday, I'm like, I could justify a new DSLR. Like, I shoot shit. Like, so I dropped money on a new DSLR, which, look at it. See?
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, yeah.
Nice, crisp picture.
I was going to say it's crisp.
It's crisp. And then I also dropped money on, like, I'm recording, I'll pull it into frame, on a shotgun mic.
Nice.
So, I'm recording on a Rode NTG 4 Plus, but once again, I do production work. Like, having a shotgun mic in my kit is something that's easily justifiable for.
Right.
I mean, it's also a little silly since for those of you that are watching the video version, Cruz is on a short SM7B. And anyone who's ever seen an in-studio version of this knows I own one of those. I own a few of them.
Right.
I very well could have set up a boom arm and used that as well. But I'm like, no, but I want the shotgun mic. I want to use the shotgun mic.
Hey, it works, dude.
But I already had, I obviously already had a board, a bunch of audio equipment. Like, I bought this green screen, and that, I have the type of green screen is one that collapses into like a metal frame.
Oh yeah, is it the
it's a knockoff of the Elgato. It's a knockoff of it.
It's a knockoff. Okay.
Like,
I know which one you're talking about.
I got it on Overstock for under $100.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'm like,
that's nice.
It's a green screen, and it's not like, I thought it was going to be like, one of the girls at a convention, how their banners pull out and you have to mount it on the pole. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like that, and it's like, no, it's got the hydraulics in the back to just slowly pull it up and down. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
See, like when I moved, because I moved in the middle of the pandemic, it was time to move. I paint the walls. Well, my boyfriend was gonna paint the walls. He was gonna paint the walls chroma green. And because of the pandemic, it was really difficult to find a place. Like, we were going to go to one of those cinema studios to pick up the paint, and just became a pain in the ass to get. So long story short, I ended up just getting a sheet for the time being. But I eventually want to just paint the wall behind me so that I don't have to worry about, like the smoothness of a fucking cloth to make sure that, everything's fine.
Yeah,
but,
no wrinkle in the chroma. And it's annoying. And that's another thing that, like, for me, I'm kind of thankful for 2020. I didn't know shit about using chroma keys before the pandemic.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the kind of shit I get involved with shooting. Like, none of it. No one's using chroma keys on adult sets for the most part.
No, that's true. That's true. I understand that. Yeah, for sure. Sure. Unless you're making a fucking parody of Batman or something.
Yeah, unless you're Axel Braun or Wood Rocket.
Right.
Those are like the two studios that, hell, Wood Rocket's studio in Vegas years ago had a full chroma wall, like a huge, and I just like, that's neat. I don't know how that works. And because, like, I got this screen and then I started experimenting with it, and I'm doing stuff. I don't know if you saw, like, the video I did last month where, like, I'm in the White House.
Oh, that was I think I saw like a thumbnail or something, and I was like, wait, what is that? And I didn't actually get to watch it. So,
but yeah, I chroma keyed myself
I saw.
behind the fucking president's desk.
Like, wait, I think I did see that. I think you did like a variation of, didn't you do like a string of different backgrounds or something where you were like, I think I saw those.
I did one. So, like, in November, I did one behind, like, the President of the United States podium. And, like, these are all all just me begging people for Twitch subs. That's all they really are.
Okay, yeah, I think I did see those actually. Now that you're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I did see those.
And like the progression of them, because like the one I did in November was with my old DSLR, and I went and bought some soft boxes too. Like
lighting is key, especially with chroma, with chroma green. I mean, you saw me before we started today. I was like, I think I accidentally kicked my light stand because I have my lights permanently set up in my battle station where I stream, so I don't have to touch it. All I have to do is turn it on, do my stream, and I'm good to go. Or when I podcast. But when I turned it on today, I was like, what the hell is going on with my lighting? But anyways, we fixed it to
Cruz looked like a 90s porn box cover.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So blown out. I'm like, Cruz, is that you or is that Chasey Lane? Like, what's going on here?
Oh my God, what a reference.
Showing my fucking age right now. Shit.
Holy crap, dude. Oh my God.
But, and like, for me, it's just been like, oh, okay. And now I learned, how to light my chroma better. I'm learning all this other shit. Like, that it's just like, I got the time, so I'm going to learn. And that's anyone who's got all the fucking time in the world in their hand, like from the pandemic or whatever. If you're not trying to learn something that you're interested in, you're fucking up.
I was just going to say that to your point. I was actually going to say the same exact thing because there's too many people right now that are complaining, because they're bored, right? I'm like, you're only bored because you're making yourself fucking bored. There's no reason for you to be bored when you're stuck at home. There is so much that you can do. Me, since the pandemic, I've read so much more since the pandemic started. I couldn't tell you how many books I've read, but since it started, I've kind of started indulging in a lot of different books. And right now I'm currently reading the Happiness Hypothesis by John Haidt, which is essentially talking about psychology and philosophy as one kind of thing, which is really great. And then, of course, the comic books and graphic novels that I've occasionally picked up or ones that I am revisiting. But and like I said earlier in the beginning of the show, I don't want to say started, but revisited, relearning, if you will, and continuing to learn French. It's like, what a time to learn a new language, man. You know what I mean? There's apps for that. And there's all sorts of stuff. I don't know why people are complaining. Because when you're stuck at home, do something with your time, man. There's so much that you can do from home. It's such a ridiculous idea that you have to be somewhere to be able to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely things I miss. I definitely miss going out to bars. I definitely miss travel. I miss
of course, socializing and whatnot. Of course, these are the things that everybody, I'm sure, I mean, I myself, we all miss, right? Like being able to talk to people. And that's why I'm thankful for the technology that we do have. Because I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, being able to group Skype, group Zoom, group FaceTime, even, you know what I mean? Like group FaceTiming with friends and hanging out and doing Jackbox games with friends, you know what I mean? I'm thankful for all of these different things that we do have technologically speaking could you imagine being in a pandemic, dude, when we couldn't communicate?
Come on, 1918 when the last big one was. Can you imagine doing this shit in 1918?
Man, that's what I tell people. I'm like, dude, we actually have technology.
Yeah.
Play some fucking video games, man. You know what I mean?
Almost anything you want to learn about is on YouTube. There is someone talking about with some level of authority about almost anything you want to learn about.
There's so much, man. Knowledge is everything. And we have all these things at our fingertips. You know what I mean? I think that's great too, being back in school and whatnot, is that a lot of the, since I don't do the scheduled Zoom meetings, the Zoom classes, if I should call it that. So because of that, a lot of my professors, they put TED Talks for the lecture notes for me to refer to when I do the assignments, which I'm kind of into it, man. I'm into it. Before I was kind of into TED Talks and stuff, but I'm even more so now because I'm like, oh man, I'm learning something right now.
Hell yeah. And a lot of it, if you're trying to do creative stuff, is just wherever your imagination can take you. I know for me personally, some of the things I've done in the YouTube videos and stuff like that is I want to do this. How do I accomplish that? And like just fall down rabbit holes of like tutorial videos and shit like that to try to figure out how I can create what I came into my head.
And that's what's amazing too. Like me, I cosplay and I build my own props and create my own costumes and whatnot. And it's like being creative, I think, is very important, especially in a time like this, because it kind of, even if you were never creative before, dude, when I made my reverse bear trap for my Dead by Daylight sock cosplay, literally all I did was researched on Google and found the best possible combination of videos to kind of use as reference for me building my reverse bear trap. And it's like, if I can fucking do that, anybody can fucking do anything. You know what I mean? It's so easy to just do DIY a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's fun too, man. It's fucking fun.
For fuck's sake, at least people of our age, when we were fucking kids, our parents kicked us out and like, go do something fun. And we had our imaginations. That's how we fucking entertained ourselves. Like, you didn't make believe with your friends, or you played with fucking action figures. Shit like that. That was all your imagination. That shit's been squashed by day-to-day life. This is an opportunity to fucking grab some of that shit and take it back.
Hell yeah, man. That's true though. To your point again, I remembering childhood and how we didn't have the things that we have now. Kids have it way too easy these days, dude. Way too easy. I remember before cell phones were a thing and people having to show up. I had like a friend show up to my house because she was like, I forgot your phone number. So she just showed up. But that was like normal back then. I can't imagine anyone showing up to my house and being like, I forgot your phone number. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like what the fuck's wrong with you? What are you doing here? Hell, one of my oldest friends at this point, like in high school, the way we became better friends was like, we knew each other from school. We'd hung out a couple times, like, community things. I was in his neighborhood hanging out with some other friends. I'm like, oh, I think that dude lives on this block. And I just pretty much went up and down the block, like yelling his name until he popped out of his house. Like, dude, what are you doing here? I'm like, dude, you do live here. Cool.
That is hilarious.
I'm like, I'm still friends with that dude. Like, you do that today, people will be like, you're a fucking psychopath. What's wrong with you?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that ever happened now, people would be like, you're a psycho. You know what I mean? But it's like, that was what life was like when we were younger.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget that. Her showing up to my house, knocking on the door, and then my mom being like, oh, your friend is here. And then I'm like, oh, hey. And I was kind of surprised. She's like, I forgot your phone number. Did you want to come with me to the mall? I'm like, okay. Like, it's just totally normal. Totally normal.
Or the fact that, like, if you made plans with someone, they have to either show or you just fucking left them. Like, hey, we're going to be up at the mall at this point and this point in the mall. Like, if you don't show at a certain point, just like, I'm out. That's it.
Because there was no way to get a hold of anybody back then.
Yeah.
There was no texting. And even if you had a pager, like in the later years, like even then you'd still have to find a phone. Oh, fuck. I need to find a phone quick. I got to call this person.
And that's assuming I was paging you from a fucking payphone that could take incoming calls.
Yeah. Douglas.
Dougie.
Shh. Dougie being a pain in my ass, as always.
As Dougie does. But it's just like the difference. Honestly, I feel like the younger generation, though they have more things, are actually at more of a disadvantage, coming up than what we were. Because, like, you and I both have done this. We both did, like, fucking rideshare driving at one point.
Yeah, oh my God.
And, like, you get a fucking youngin' in the car, they can, like, you try to start up a conversation just to be fucking polite, and they're just like, what? You're trying to interact with me? You're trying to interact with me in meat space? What's wrong with you?
That it's interesting because I feel like also that's what keeps people from growing, I guess, for a lack of a better word for what I'm trying to say here. I mean, a good example is, pre-pandemic, of course, you could walk into any restaurant and then I saw this way too often, walking to a restaurant and seeing couples, and not even necessarily couples. It's just more sad when it's couples, but just any groups of people that are just on their phones. They're just on their phones like this. Everybody, there could be a table of 6 people and they're all just doing this. And then it was more sad when it's couples because it's like you guys are so engrossed into your phones right now. Like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean? It's like people have kind of lost their grip on reality, that they're just so I gotta see what's going on. Like, is there something important on your phone? Like, one of my biggest pet peeves again, pre-pandemic, going to the movie theater. God, I miss going to the movie theaters, by the way. Going to the movies, and I've had way too many friends that have been guilty of doing this, and it bothers me to no end. Where I'll literally, when I'm at the movie theater, I put my phone on silent and I don't touch it.
Damn right.
I don't care if I see it light up from underneath or whatever, or it vibrates or something. You're not going to see me even get tempted to fucking peep. The only way I'll ever do that is if I'm expecting a very important phone call. You know, like if someone's in the hospital and they're like, make sure you answer your phone, and I happen to be at the movie theater, yeah, I'll fucking check it. But if it's a non-emergency, I don't touch my fucking phone because I'm being respectful to people around me. And it's like, I'm watching a fucking movie. Why do I want to look at my phone? And I've had way too many fucking friends that'll literally be scrolling through Instagram. I'm like, are you enjoying the movie over there? Like, what are you doing? Like, straight up. So, like, it's one thing to be texting, but straight up, like, you really had to check Instagram right now? Like, what are you doing, bro?
Nah, see, I got no tolerance to that shit. Like, if your phone comes out,
I hate that shit so much.
If your phone comes out past the trailers, like, I'm never going to a movie with you again.
Yeah, and I remember one girlfriend who just could not stop picking up her phone and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like stop. It's just so obnoxious. I mean, like, I get irritated when strangers do that shit, but when I'm with someone that's sitting next to me doing that, I'm like, bro.
Oh, I've
gotten
confrontation with people in theaters over it. Like,
oh yeah, me, I'll straight up, I'll fucking throw popcorn at your fucking stupid face if you.
I don't want to be a narc, but it's like, one of the things I love about the ArcLight is, like, if you go tell the staff, like, someone's looking at their phone, they will kick them the fuck out.
Good, because it's annoying and obnoxious when it's like a ongoing, continuous thing, like, through the duration of the film.
Right.
Because you know what's worse, though, and I'm sorry to cut you off, is when their brightness of their phone is on. You know, when you're in a dark theater, and that's another thing too. Even though I don't fuck with my phone, I'll still put the brightness on the lowest possible setting in case it, like, lights up when it vibrates or something. But the worst is when people have their brightness 100%, because as soon as they unlock their phone, it just illuminates. It's almost like it's illuminating the room. And I'm like, and I'll look over and be like, do you mind?
Oh, no, I'm like, I'm here for an immersive experience. You are taking me right the fuck out of it by looking at your phone right now. And that's why, like, I love theaters so fucking much, because, like, you get me on my couch, even if it's a movie I love, I'm a fucking addict. I'll look at my phone. Like,
right.
I may turn down the lights, make it pitch black in here, but I will probably still look at my phone at some point during the movie in my house.
Your home. Right. Yeah.
But the minute I'm in a theater, like, all that temptation is gone, because it's like, oh, I have respect for the people around me on top of, like,
exactly.
I'm here for an immersive experience.
Exactly.
I mean, hell, you and I watched a good chunk of the last, like, third phase of the Marvel movies together on premiere nights.
Hell yeah, man.
I would have killed someone if a phone had come out.
Yeah. Yep. I hate that shit, dude.
Oh, it's the fucking worst.
Man, do I miss going to the theater now that we're talking about it.
Oh, me too. Me too. I mean, like,
have you seen any movies that were like, that should be in the theater, that are like, oh, you can watch it on HBO or whatever?
Well, no, I haven't, because it's one of those things where, like, it's a weird hypocrisy in my brain where, like, oh, I would have probably happily paid $20 to go see Tenet at a theater. Probably would have done it in a heartbeat. Been like, oh, new Christopher Nolan? J.D. Washington? Sure, I'll spend $20 to see what this is about. And then buy it on iTunes for $20. Nah, not doing that.
So you haven't seen the movie?
Mm-mm. Have you?
Yes.
Is it worth the $20?
Dude, I wish I could see it in the theater, but no, it's great. It's a good movie. Your brain is just, you're going to be like, oh my God.
But I'm about that. I'm all about that. It's just one of those things where,
I love it. I like it.
Something in my brain was just like, oh, I will pay $20 for the experience. I don't want to pay $20 to just own the film. I don't know. Like, it makes no
because they
fucking
don't give you the
logical sense.
option to rent. It's more like, hey, this movie should have been in theaters, but you can buy it.
Well, and some of the times iTunes is like, oh, you can rent it for $15, $16. I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
It's like at that point, if you're going to rent a film for that much money, it's almost like they're forcing you to just buy it.
Yeah.
I forgot what movie I almost did that with. I can't remember what the fuck movie it was, but I remembered we were looking at it and it said, oh, rent it for, I can't remember how much, but like $15 just for the sake of the story. But you could buy it for $5 more. You could buy it basically. And it was like, well, at that point, why would I want to rent it for 24 hours at that price when I could just buy it and own it? But then what if I hate the fucking thing? Then I just own a movie I don't like. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But how many people have actually had that kind of way of thinking though? Like, oh, well, why am I going to spend $15 to rent a film for $5 more? I can own it. And then they just say, fuck it, and just buy the film because they feel like it's more worth it at that point. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have done that, though.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure they're banking. Yeah. I'm sure they're absolutely banking on that, too. It's just, I'm willing to pay the money for the experience. Like, I want the popcorn. I want a cherry Coke. I want some Reese's Pieces.
Oh, hell yeah. Bunch of Crunch, baby, in the popcorn.
Right? Like, I want to be there with friends. Like, I think that's part of it. Like, if it was safe to do something, like, it was a friend on my couch and we're like, let's watch Tenet together. I'd probably drop $20 to like share that experience with a friend. But just sitting here on my couch for, to drop the $20, it's just like, I have 1,000 other movies, literally 1,000 other movies I could watch.
Right. I get it. I totally get it.
I mean, it's not particularly rational on my part. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that it's a weird thing. Like, I buy a lot of fucking movies off iTunes. But I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy that for. I tend not to spend more than $10 on a movie I'm buying.
Right.
It's just weird.
It's expensive, man.
Yeah. It's like, but you go to the fucking ArcLight or you go to the fucking the Chinese, and it's like, oh hey, $25 just to get in, and then that doesn't even count concessions. We used to do that shit all the time. Yeah,
next thing you know, you're blowing like fucking $50 just on yourself.
Yeah. We used to do that shit all the time. Like. That's another thing with the pandemic that was just like made me look at like what my spending habits were pre-pandemic. Like, I used to not blink at like $100 bar tab for myself.
That's a very good point though. Like pre-pandemic, just thinking about the expenses just from everyday shit, even from like eating out, not just like going to the movies, but also like eating out, doing this, doing that. And then like even traveling to work, driving to work, and all the gas money that you fucking spend to go to work. And then being stuck, going from that to being stuck at home. I'm sure though, I say this now like, oh yeah, spending money on food, but I'm sure people have spent a lot of money on Postmates and like any kind of like food delivery. But which is not entirely a bad thing because you're still giving back to the businesses that are still open and putting food in our mouths. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the problem is, unfortunately, like these companies are essentially just raping these local businesses. Like, I totally understand if you're a small business not having a full-time delivery driver, especially pre-pandemic, especially in LA where you have to pay the minimum wage. Like back in the day in like 2000 when I was a pizza delivery driver, like we made delivery fees and tips. Like you had a shift and you just hang out. And when deliveries came in, you made your delivery fee and you made tips. Otherwise, you weren't being paid shit. I totally get why a small business doesn't want to pay some guy $15 an hour plus tips to just to just hang out if it's a slow night or anything. But on the other hand, DoorDash, Grubhub, Postmates are eating 30 fucking % on fucking deliveries. Like, how is that right or fair?
Yeah, I mean, I have found myself, we don't typically order food often. It's a very, very like once a week, if that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's Sunday cheat day. Let's fucking order some food. It's not like, because I know people that order food every day, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, where are you getting the money to fucking do that, dude? You know what I'm saying? But some people just don't fucking cook, I guess. I don't know. So they're able to order food to last them a while. I don't know. Whatever the case may be. That aside, we don't really spend that much. We don't really, let me rephrase that sentence. We don't really order food that much. What I'll do is I'll get a bunch of groceries and I'll just meal prep some food and then we'll eat that for like the entire week typically. But man, when you think about like all the times that we were able to go out, like, oh, let's go eat at this restaurant. Not that we ate that often. We didn't really, even before the pandemic, we never really ate out often. But, you know, we occasionally did, but you save a lot of money from
and hell,
not doing that anymore, man. Tell you what.
When I eat out, my regular eat outs were fairly cheap. Like, I used to go to Elbow Room on Quang on Monday nights for their fucking $10 pie, but I would drop $50-$60 in drinks while I was there.
See, that's where the money gets spent, man. That's why when I stopped drinking, even before the pandemic, when I stopped drinking, I was like, I'm saving a lot of money not drinking right now because you go out and like fucking hell, do they rape you on like you want a shot, one shot of whiskey, and they're like, okay, that's $15, $20 depending on the place. Yep. I'm like, $20. So like I would buy a round. All right, who wants a shot? I'm like, okay, that's gonna be $60 for
plus tip.
Those 3 shots. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, what?
Yeah, and you gotta tip your server, like you gotta,
yeah. It's insane.
And like we've both been in LA long enough, and you're from fucking up north anyways where it's already expensive, but like
fuck yeah, dude. San Francisco. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oof.
We're so used to LA prices, like I forget, like, when I travel to other places to visit friends, like, holy fuck, everything's so fucking cheap here. Like, I'm just so jaded to fucking how it's, like, a friend came in from Austin pre-pandemic, like, back in February last year, and was like, dude, in Austin, I get a beer and a shot of Jameson for $6. I'm like,
oh my God.
Not here. There is no place here. And then you couldn't even do that if you were buying your own 6-pack and a bottle of Jameson. It wouldn't come out to that price.
No, if you wanted to buy, oh my God, no. That is insane.
We're just so conditioned to like, this is what shit costs. And
that's why it's funny when people visit, like, obviously pre-pandemic, when people would come visit from out of town and they would see how much things cost around here. I'm like, it's LA. Are we in a fancy place or something? No, honey. This is just LA.
Yeah, like, oh, hey.
Welcome to LA.
Rest in peace 101 Diner. But like, you'd go to the 101 and like, rest in peace 101. Rest in peace.
I loved that place, man.
Me too.
So heartbreaking.
It was the first place I ever ate at in LA. Like, before I moved. Is it
really?
Oh, yeah. Because I had friends that lived in the Hollywood Towers before I moved here. So, like, that was the first place we ever went for food. I came in from Vegas to visit them, and, like, it was right there.
That was the best place to go to, like, after a night of drinking.
Oh, hell yeah. But
because they'd be open till 3-4 in the morning. And it was like, rolling there drunk. Let me get some pancakes, man. You know what I'm saying?
But, like, eggs and pancakes would still cost you, like, $20 after it all said and done.
Also, yes.
But this is just what we're used to paying here in LA. But, like, you go and, like, other parts of the country, like, wait a minute, 2 eggs and pancakes cost you $20? Was there gold in those pancakes? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. That place was really good, though.
It was. Oh I mean,
man.
I miss, like, it's one of those places that I'm really bummed that, like, the pandemic killed it.
I'm really bummed about it too. I remember that one of my funniest memories of being there was seeing it was like a casual Saturday afternoon. I can't remember, maybe Sunday, and both Jason Segel and Jason Mewes were there. Jay Mewes,
nice,
Hollywood baby.
Oh yeah, like I definitely saw Quentin Tarantino in there one of the times I ate there. Like
nice.
Like you just never know who you'd run into because the place was a landmark.
It totally was. It's so sad, man. So sad, dude. It's so sad.
I know. And like, I'm just afraid like some of my other haunts will fucking go away to the dodo by the end of the pandemic too. Like, I'm hoping Lost Property can hold out.
Oh man, I remember that place. Blacked out at that place.
It's a great bar.
Good times.
They were super nice enough to like host my birthday party there last year, and like,
oh shit! Oh yeah, I think I remember you having your birthday there last year.
Yeah, great place. Like some other really cool spots are gonna go away. not to say that like post-pandemic we might not see some really awesome spots open up, because in the grand scheme of things, at least judging by residential rent prices, things are going to get cheaper. I don't know if I just mentioned my shit neighbors around my phone or something, but I'm keep getting all these targeted ads for like, move into this building, 3 months free. Like, huh?
Oh my God. That's another thing with LA too, is I'm seeing a lot of buildings. In fact, a buddy of ours who lives in Hollywood, really like, I guess I could use the word upscale-ish kind of apartment building, in the middle of Hollywood, where like a studio, if I remember correctly, it was like 2,600 or something ridiculous for a studio, dude. A studio. So there's no bedroom. It's a fucking studio. I might be wrong on the price, but it was definitely over $2,000, pretty high up there. And his lease is almost up. And they're trying to offer him like, hey, we'll shave off a couple hundred, if you stay and like re-sign or whatever, we'll give it to you for like 18 or something like that. I can't remember. And I'm just like, good God, man. And there are other buildings all around LA that are trying to do special deals too. Like, oh, if you pay for the first 3 months in advance, we'll knock off X amount of money and da 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 da. And then I'm also seeing, just because I get curious, my curiosity, I'm bored. I'm sitting here at home doing jack shit. But, sometimes I get curious and I'll look at the same ads that I've seen just 6 months ago and how prices have just even continued to drop. Like 6 months ago, because, I already moved, but like 6 months ago, there was certain buildings and stuff where they were like, oh, 1 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, whatever, 2 bedrooms even. And, oh, we're going to shave off 300, right? So they're already deducting from the rent. And then now 6 months later, they've deducted another 300. So now I'm like, oh my God, that's 600 off. Why? We should have just waited.
Oh, I mean, for me personally, like, so I'm kind of in a thing with my new downstairs neighbor who moved in September. He's some sort of EDM DJ or beat maker or something, but was like fucking.
I saw your post about that, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't you put like the fucking your speaker on the floor?
I will not admit such things on the internet. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's gotten like, because of the COVID regs, you can't evict someone for nuisance at the moment.
So that's a thing? Like you literally, really? Because I briefly saw your post where you're talking about your neighbor being really loud and you were asking, for advice, if I remember correctly, from people like, what can you do? And I think I saw somebody post a comment about like, oh, like something about legally allowed quiet time or something like that. Yeah. I think you remember the comment that I'm speaking of.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking, because I was like, because I don't know if you ever saw my posts from my old building.
Crazy fucking neighbor, yeah.
My crazy ass fucking neighbor upstairs who would just completely just fight with her dude. And like, apparently the cops had been there. I had called the cops at one point because it just sounded like someone was fucking getting their ass kicked. I'm like, what the hell? And when I say they, I mean the male, because she was so crazy. I have videos of like, because I would knock on her door. And because like, what do you do when you knock to nicely be like, do you mind being quiet? You know what I mean? And they don't do anything. That was the problem that I had at that building. I would knock on her door and she wouldn't answer. She would just get quiet. Like the yelling would just stop, but then refuse to answer the door. So I was like, this is ridiculous. And I remembered going to my my landlord and complaining about it. And he legitimately says to me, and this is pre-pandemic, by the way, she's very nice. They're a nice couple, but she gets like this when she doesn't take her meds. These were his words. She gets like that when she doesn't take her meds. And I'm just kind of like, okay, but that should not give her permission to act like a fucking psychopath, like a literal psychopath.
Well, and at the end of the day, like, you're entitled to not being disturbed in your own fucking home.
Right. And you know what he told me too that was really fucked up? And I'm sorry to interrupt you because I want to hear your story. But because I'm curious after I tell you my whole thing. When I initially went to my landlord about this, he had said not only that part about like, oh, she gets like this when she doesn't take her meds, But he also said, because, I was on the first floor, she lived above me. And he said, oh, yeah, they used to live on the first floor, but I had to move them because they were so loud. And I'm like, what do you mean you moved them because they were so loud? Like, almost like, so this is an ongoing thing, clearly. And you thought moving them to the second floor was going to make things better.
So you have people above and below them? That makes no sense.
Yeah. And then he said, did you try knocking on their door? And I'm like, they won't answer. And he's like, oh, I've tried knocking on the door and they won't answer either. I'm like, you're the fucking landlord. I'm like,
right?
What do you mean? And then he told me he claimed the cops had already been there before. And I think he might have said this to me to kind of prevent me from furthering this whole ordeal. But he had claimed that the cops had already been called before and that she was given a warning. But this continued on for months, as I'm sure you know, because of all my angry posts on Facebook about it from a long time ago. But I ended up calling the cops myself. And then one day it was like 3 a.m. And this is when I was working a full-time job, mind you. I was working a full-time job where I would get up at 7 a.m. and go to the office and actually I was running a nightclub essentially. You know what I mean? And it was 3 a.m. and it sounded like she was rearranging furniture up there. And I was like, nope. So I went up there and I banged on the fucking door. She actually answered the door this time. She answered the door crying. And instead of being like, are you okay? Because I already knew from the backstory from the landlord that she's just a crazy person. So I was like, I'm trying to sleep. Do you mind shutting the fuck up? Now, obviously I didn't say that, but I was like, I'm trying to sleep. Do you mind keeping it down, please? And she actually was like, I'm sorry. Okay. And then kept crying, I was like, whatever. But so your situation.
Well, first my landlord's like, can you go communicate with them? I'm like, the only time I know they're home is when they're fucking disturbing me. And you don't want me going down there. You just don't want me going down there. It's like,
what do they say?
It's like, well, I'm like, because by the time I, know they're home, I'm fucking angry. I've lived in this unit for 5 fucking years. I have never heard my downstairs neighbor in 5 years. And if you're playing bass loud enough to rattle things that are on my floor, you obviously have no consideration.
Are they new neighbors or?
As of September. This has been going on since September.
Oh, so you know for a fact that those are new people that live beneath you then? Yeah. See, what's interesting, finish your thought though, because you said that, so you basically.
Oh, I have a catalog of complaints. And I am the worst neighbor to make excessive noise around. I have a lot of expensive recording equipment to capture that shit with.
Right.
So I have recordings of the audio. I'm like, this is unacceptable. I'm a professional fucking podcaster. This is interfering with my fucking work.
Because people, and that's the thing too. I think the biggest problem with a lot of people that are stuck at home during this pandemic is they think that, because there's a lot of people that are out of work. I get that. But there's also people that are working from home, and people don't respect or even comprehend that that's a thing. You know what I mean? And especially the young people that are whatever. It's there are some of us me now. It's not just working for me. It's school. I have to do homework and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's funny because that's why I was curious about what ended up happening with you. Oh, actually, we haven't even concluded this. No, so what happened?
So first and foremost, eventually, the landlord's here's his number. He said, reach out so he can hear what it sounds like in your unit. And he comes.
So he wants to actually hear what it sounds like in your unit.
By the way, God. He admitted to me when he came up here to hear it that he has fucking 8-inch studio monitors downstairs. What fucking reason do you have to play 8-inch studio monitors in an apartment?
What is he doing? Is he a music producer? I mean, not that excuse.
He's a music producer.
Still doesn't excuse that though. No, it's dude, you're in an apartment.
Yeah, he's normally I would go to other studios, but COVID. He's I gotta be able to bump. Maybe we can come up with a compromise. And I'm like, well, here's my live stream schedule. Here's my recording schedule. Here's my client recording schedule. I do not want to be able to hear anything while I'm recording. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. And it went for a day after he came up here. He's like, yeah, just let me know when you're recording. I'll make sure to keep it down. I had a stream on, I think, Thursday, where it was hey man, I'm starting to stream at 8 o'clock till midnight. 9:30. I'm like, yo, I can hear you. Oh man, I'm sorry. 11:30. Yo, I can hear you. I'm still fucking streaming. Like,
Oh my God.
I contacted management again. I'm like, yo, this is this dude's idea of compromise. I told him when I'm going to be working and it will interrupt my work, and he does not care. I cannot fucking deal with this. And management's response, this was back to like the crazy rent prices, was like, well, because of the nuisance laws right now, we can't evict, even though we have multiple complaints from you and the neighbors downstairs below him.
So wait, so you're not the only one complaining about this person?
Nope.
And which I would imagine given how it sounds, I can imagine. I mean, there's got to be more people complaining, right? So, they're telling you that because of the nuisance, whatever the fuck it's called, they can't evict.
Nope.
What about calling the cops and filing a noise complaint? Is that even a thing anymore?
I mean, it technically could be, but and this also could be my management lying to me because they said that the cops were previously called and like the cops couldn't hear anything from the hallway, so they just left.
That's bullshit.
Probably. Like, I wasn't trying to get too deeply involved in this at first. I was just kind of like, I don't care. Just make it stop.
Right.
But management's eventual response was, hey, there's a different unit in the building that's 1,300 square feet. It's like a couple hundred square feet bigger than it's like one of their townhouse models in the same building. We'll give it to you for the same price if you want it.
So they're trying to convince you to move units to get away from the racket of your neighbor.
Yeah.
What was your response to that?
Like, let me go check out the unit. I'm not opposed to getting a bunch of more square footage for the same price.
True. Do you still have the same roommate?
Yes, technically.
Yes, technically.
I mean, he's been in New York since August.
Oh shit. Okay. So he's your roommate, but he's just not there, essentially, right?
Yeah, which if you came and saw the apartment right now, it looks like, it looks like a production studio at the moment. Like, there's like in the living room area around the podcast, like there's just soft lights set up, like the full podcasting gear is set up.
That's gonna be nice though, because then you'll be able to just comfortably kind of do your own thing.
Yeah. I'm just dreading when he eventually comes back. It's also like, what the fuck, man? Because it's not like you've been here when he was home. He likes it tidy. Especially since no one's coming over, I give very few fucks. Like,
and I mean, if he's gone too, and no, it's like, fuck it.
Yeah, no, like, I'm not leaving food out or not throwing out the garbage, but otherwise, it's like, it's pretty much, fuck it.
Right.
But it's still like one of those. They even offered to like move us into a different property that they manage. Like,
really?
And I'm just kind of like, maybe we'll explore that. But like, that was the whole to do about this was just to illustrate like how LA's price is going down. How are you going to offer me a unit that's like 200 or 300 square feet more for my current rate? Like, just cause
they're getting desperate.
Oh yeah,
because there's this one building where I've been kind of eyeballing. Not that I'm looking to move again, but like like I said, I'm always curious. Like, let's see how much the price has dropped on this place, because then my soul kind of hurts a little bit because I'm like, fuck, that was a really huge fucking unit. Damn it, you know what I mean? But the things are getting super tight, man. Like, a lot of places are like, there's this one building that has too many vacant units. And speaking of vacant units, and this is why I'm glad we're talking about this whole nuisance noise bullshit. So when we first moved to where we're at now, we didn't have a neighbor on our, on the left side of us. Right. And we have a neighbor on one side, but not on the other. So it was nice to like not have a neighbor. Not that, like I can hear anything, but then all of a sudden, my boyfriend tells me, I think we have new neighbors. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I saw the light on through the window. I think there's people living there now. And lo and behold, one day, music starts bumping. I'm talking bass line just vibrating my walls. And I'm like, okay, no, this is not fucking happening. And I was like, I think that confirmed we do in fact have neighbors that moved in. I'm like, I am not dealing with this bullshit, dude. Like, after what happened with the crazy lady from the last place, I was like, this is ridiculous. And the kind of music they're playing is just, the bass is just super, I'm talking about just vibrating the walls, dude.
Downstairs.
Yeah. But here's the difference between my neighbor and yours. I don't think they realized that they're being loud, because it's like just the bass is just what's like, I think their speakers or whatever it is that they're playing music from is probably on the wall that is on our side, because it only took 2 different times to knock on the fucking adjoining wall, like letting them know, like, hey, and they like lowered the music down. And I was like, I don't think they realize that shit fucking vibrates. And ever since that day, never had a problem. And I really was worried, because I finally got to see, actually my boyfriend got to see the people going in and out of that unit, and they look like young dudes. So I was like, I wonder what they do or whatever, if they're working from home or what, because it was almost, for a while, it was kind of in the beginning, it was like clockwork. By noon, music would start bumping. And we never really complained, because it wasn't like, whatever. But then when we had to when I started studying, this is like after school started, and then, my boyfriend works from home, has to work at his desk and stuff. And that's when we were like, okay, this can't be happening. And then of course I film also, additionally, we had to film, this is when it started, I remember now. I had to film an audition tape for my boyfriend, because he got this audition, and we have a whole studio set up in the living room to be able to record, fucking self tapes for auditions and stuff. And we weren't ready to film yet. And all of a sudden I hear the music bumping. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to fly, dude. You know what I mean? Like, the camera is going to pick this shit up. And so my boyfriend wasn't home yet, because he had stepped out to go grab something. So I texted him like all angry, like, what the fuck, these neighbors? And he's like, just knock on the wall. Like, literally right next to it, we have like a wall with the backdrops that you can kind of swap out the backdrops for when we do self-tapes. So I like went back there and I just banged on the wall, and then they shut the fuck up. And ever since then, no problems. And I'm like, oh, because I got worried with how young these guys are, that I was going to have to like physically go to their apartment door and knock on the door and just be like, do you guys mind? I didn't want to be that guy, but like, it was getting to a point where I was like, I can't. But ever since then, dude, I don't know. I guess my knocks are really hard, because I was like,
well, I'm glad that fucking worked out for you, because yeah, like that shit. Ugh.
That sucks though. Now knowing that that's a thing, like a no nuisance, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, it's part of the
bullshit.
It's part of the COVID like moratorium on evictions.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, they also can't evict. They also can't evict you for unauthorized people or unauthorized pets.
Okay, that's also bullshit.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much for the pets, because I'm allowed to hug Douglas.
I mean, the people actually almost makes more sense than the pets, because it's like, oh hey, say my sibling or my girlfriend lost their job and just couldn't pay rent.
That makes sense, I guess. I just like dogs more than people, I guess. That's why.
Well, me too. Me too. But it's still like that shit's like, but the abuses on the anti-nuisance, like, oh hey, I know you can't evict us out right now, so we're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want.
And that's what sucks, because then people just all like common courtesy just goes out the window, in my opinion.
Oh, I mean,
if people know that fact, if they're like, oh, you can't evict me because of this, I'm just gonna fucking be annoying and obnoxious and just make people's lives around me a living hell. That's fucked up, man. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I know, like this dude, because when he came up here, he's like, well, the decibel rates in your apartment are technically within like city ordinance, so like we'll have to come to a compromise.
No, that's bullshit.
I'm like,
that is bullshit. It's almost like, what if you started playing really loud fucking music? It's almost like what you need to do. Like, if he says he's working, right? Oh, I'm a music producer and I can't go to the studio. Like, what if you started fucking playing music hella fucking loud while he was doing his work, right? He sure as hell wouldn't fucking like that shit.
Well, and on top of it, like, I know this dude obviously has no courtesy for his neighbors, because he has put up sound installation, and it's just so, to appease management. It ain't about appeasing me. And because I got woken up one Saturday morning to, nails being driven into my floor, essentially. The sound of hammering as he was hanging fucking sound installation. Like, if you were concerned about your neighbors, especially at that point, you have my number. You'd be like, hey, man, I'm going to put some insulation up. Like, sorry. Yeah, right? No, like, I mean, this is also a dude, like, turns out I'd actually met him before I actually met him. Because he was exercising up on the roof. I didn't know who he was.
Oh, I thought you meant when you said met him, I thought like in a social setting, not so much like, okay.
I got woken up one morning to like just banging on my fucking, because I'm on the top floor. Someone was on the roof fucking like jumping around and it wasn't stopping. I couldn't fall back asleep. So I literally put on clothes and went upstairs like, yo, man, you are jumping on my fucking roof.
Oh my God. So he's just making your life a living hell in all sorts of ways.
Well, and I didn't know this is the same guy. He's just like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like, because I went up there hot. Like, yeah, I just got woken up.
Rightfully so.
And he's like, can I move here? I'm like, I don't give a fuck where you move. Just get off the top of my fucking unit. Like,
damn. You're like, go that way.
Like, I don't give
go jump on somebody else's.
Right. Like, I don't give a fuck where you go as long as you are not on top of my fucking bedroom. And like, just went back downstairs. Like, but apparently that was my first interaction with him because when he came upstairs, I'm like, oh, it's this guy. Okay.
Oh my God. How funny is that though? Like you go down there, who the fuck is making this obnoxious fucking noise? And then you're like, oh my God, it's you.
Yeah, like, oh, you're the
That's
same.
like a scene from a movie right there.
It's like, you're the same shit neighbor. And like, I don't know, man. I didn't go down there all these times to like knock on his door because I was that fucking angry about it. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't going to be neighborly. It wasn't going to be like, hey, I'm trying to work. Can you please turn it down? Like, yo, man, turn it the fuck down.
That was me with my psychotic neighbor in my last place when I went at 3 a.m. because I was like, I have to get up in 4 hours. You fucking bitch. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, I do audio production. Why can't you do this in headphones? Like, why do you have to bump?
And that's such a fucking shitty excuse too. Oh, normally I would go to the studio and but it's like, have some fucking regard and like respect for people around you, man. And that's what sucks, dude. That's what sucks is that people suck.
I mean, that's all of our society though. Like that is absolutely, especially in LA, all of our society. That's why our fucking numbers went up. It's like, I don't care, like back to COVID and shit. I don't give a fuck if you believe masks are work or not. Wearing a mask is just a courtesy to people around you.
Yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous that there are still people out there that are running around, doing this whole anti-mask fucking whatever you want to call it. It's just ridiculous. And it's like almost like you're just making a scene to make a scene. You know what I mean? Like when they refuse to go into a business without a mask on, it's like, do you just want attention? Like just fucking put a mask on. And everybody's happy. You can fucking buy whatever it is that you need and you can get the fuck out and then you can take your mask off when you leave and that's on you, you know?
Right. Like, even if you don't believe, like, if you don't believe they work, that's fine. You're just saying, hey, other people around me, I'm trying to make you feel comfortable. That's all.
And I respect that. That's another thing too. It's like you're literally showing that you respect other people by doing that. It's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid.
And there's a reason that like our numbers fucking were astronomical and there's
really a reason why LA is the worst in the entire state.
Worst in the country.
How many people have hit me up? Are you okay in LA? I'm like, what? Because it's like to us, it's like, yeah, we fucking people here suck. Like people here fucking suck. But the amount of people that don't live here, my friends, family, you name it, that have hit me up. Are you okay? Like, what are you talking about? Well, LA, and this is like when we were like first starting to get the number one spot for
like 2 weeks ago, like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And I'm like, yeah, I never leave the house unless I absolutely have to. And people in LA suck. There are people in the Hollywood Hills fucking throwing parties with 100 people, dude.
Yeah. Well, and just like I had a discussion, like I had a friend, like a singular friend come over to do some voiceover work yesterday. And like we get in the elevator and the DoorDash guy gets in on another floor. I normally even tell my fucking neighbors catch the next one.
Yeah.
Like just don't get in an elevator with other people right now. Like that aren't part of your household.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. Like every time I get into the elevator in my building and I see someone, like if I'm waiting for the elevator to go down and I see people in it and they don't have a mask on, even though there's signs everywhere that say, please wear your mask, to respect your neighbors and stuff. I'm like, I'll take the next one. I'm good.
Mask or not. I tell them, like, I'll catch the next one. No big deal.
Yeah, no. And that as well. I'm just saying, I just kind of added that in there because that fucking pains me, just adding to the whole, like, people in LA sucking so bad that it's just kind of like, what the fuck, man,
Well, and the thing about it is my buddy was giving me shit. It's like, it's no big deal, man. That guy's just trying to make his fucking money. And like, I'm like, yeah, man, none of us need to fucking risk potentially being life-threateningly ill for him to wait 30 more seconds for another fucking elevator.
Right. It's not that serious. And like, I don't know, man. I've known way too many people that have caught it. Some that had very minimal symptoms, while others were like deathly fucking sick. And then I also know people that have died.
Yeah.
So it's like when people want to complain and shit, I'm like, bro,
well,
just stop.
I had a friend who died March of last year from it, like in the beginning or in the early days. I've had a couple other friends hospitalized, but I've also had some asshole friends like who got it, had real mild cases, and are like, I'm not going to even get vaccinated. It wasn't that bad.
And that's another problem though. People that did get it that might be younger, because I feel like my friends that did get it happened to be younger and they had minimal symptoms, right? And the problem is people that have gotten it that didn't experience the severity of it, to them, they're like, oh, it was really not that bad. But it's like, yeah, for you, it wasn't bad. But for somebody else, it's different. It affects everybody differently. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people that don't take it as seriously. They're like, oh yeah, I had it. It was not a big deal, And it's like, for you, it wasn't that bad. But for other people are hospitalized and shit, man. Even ones that didn't have underlying, illnesses or whatever, because that's the most common thing that people want to believe is that, that person was probably already sick and yada, 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 yada. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole of, this, that, and whatever else in regards to COVID. But the bottom line is that there's way too many fucking people, Dougie, that just don't take it seriously, whether or not they have had it or they knew people. The thing that bothers me is when people know other people that have gotten it that didn't have it as severe. And they're like, well, it can't be that bad. So if I get it, I get it. And it's like, you don't want to think that way. You don't want to think that way.
I mean, like, that's like the anecdotal evidence of like, well, I know someone who's had unprotected sex. They didn't get pregnant. So I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm good to raw dog no matter what.
Perfect example, man. Perfect example. Oh, well, I fucked this one chick and she didn't get pregnant. So
I'm good to go all the time. Nothing will ever bad will happen. Raw dog.
Oh my God. It's true though. It's true.
Like people just like to want to treat anecdotal evidence like it's fucking fact. And it's like, it's not how this shit works. That is not how this shit works. And
true that.
It's just, humanity as in general, it's just like, come on.
I've lost hope. Just a little bit.
I mean, I didn't have much to begin with, but like this
is also yes.
This is squashed all of it. Absolutely all of it. This is what we deserve as a species. This is what we deserve. Earth can slowly hit its reset button. We can all fucking die off. And maybe the next God. Maybe the next intelligent, animal will do a better job than we did. Because for fuck's sake.
Yeah. It's true, man.
Like I've made jokes about this before. Like, I feel like there is a hot Instagram girl conspiracy about like not taking COVID seriously. Because it's always like, for the most part, like hot Instagram models who are like, it's not that bad. I'm not going to get vaccine. Like, don't you realize people with penises will blindly follow you because you're hot? Stop it.
Yeah. Yep.
Stop it.
Yep. Oh my God, dude. When is it going to end? I feel like the pandemic has changed a lot of people too. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. 100%. And almost none of them for the better.
This is also true. Unfortunately, this is also true. It's such a crazy fucking time.
Yeah, my responsible behavior during the pandemic isn't like any particular altruism, like, oh, I want to help society. It's literally very selfish. It's literally like, I'm doing my part so we can get back to like me getting drunk in public and having sex with strangers in bathrooms.
Speaking of, I have to ask because, as a single male in the middle of the pandemic, have you tried to like meet people, whether it's like virtually? Because, I have homies that like we swiping left and right, on the dating apps and whatnot. And like some people have taken the necessary precautions. Like I know I have a girlfriend who made sure to get COVID tested and then also made sure that the people that she met, not that she's met like a shit ton of people, mind you, made sure that they were COVID, like all these different stipulations and whatnot. So I'm curious, have you done that since the pandemic?
So, I mean, this is a little shameful. Over the course of the pandemic, I have hung out with a couple women.
Okay.
The majority of them are performers that were getting 48 to 24-hour COVID tests.
Okay.
But like one or two of other ones were like civilian friends, and there were ones that weren't taking it super seriously, and it was really stupid on my part. And I'll admit it was really stupid, but I will admit that I've been in my apartment by myself for quite some time and was really horny.
Right. Okay.
Like, it was really like, oh man, I mean, I know this piece of ass is definitely not worth dying over, but I'm going to roll them dice. I mean, but to be fair, in the grand scheme of things, if I had gotten sick from one of those situations, my roommate at that point was already in New York. Like I would not, I have no elderly family around me. I'm not going to a 9 to 5. In other words,
if there were a situation where you did find yourself at risk, it's not like you live in a home with some, I mean, obviously, like you said, your roommate was gone. It's not like you're coming home and putting your roommate at risk, nor were you going to anybody else's place, like seeing family, for example.
Right. I'm only negatively affecting myself in those situations. And
so it's just you that's pretty much at risk, essentially.
Right. It's dumb, but I'm also, my philosophy on most things, like almost anything is permissible as long as you're only negatively affecting yourself.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
It's dumb. I acknowledge it was dumb. Especially like one of the girls, like, she sucks. I mean, she just sucks. Like, but I knew I was fucking her, so I was just like, well, it's been a minute. I mean, she literally just said she's gonna come over to fuck me. I know she was out eating in a restaurant like yesterday and like is out all the time. I know this is really dumb, but she literally says she is going to come over to fuck me.
Hey man, I'm not judging. Okay, I'm not here to judge.
I mean,
and mind you,
even if you
yes, I'm in a living relationship with the same person for almost 3 years now, and we've lived together for most of that time, right? And I've talked about this on my radio show before. Like, dude, I don't like me. When I'm single, I'm very social, to put it lightly. You know what I mean?
Social.
And I don't know. I mean, I kind of have an idea of how I probably would approach the situation, but man, I'm so thankful that I have a partner, to say the least. You know what I mean?
But that's going to present its own challenges, right? Like, there's a difference between living with a partner and then spending almost every waking moment with them.
Well, I will tell you this because we actually just talked about this not too long ago. Because we have other friends that are couples, whether they're married or dating or long term. Like we have a lot of friends that have been together for fucking like 20 years even. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget one of our one friends saying like, oh yeah, we've gone from fighting X amount of times to just twice a week now. And the thing is, my boyfriend and I, God, I hope I don't jinx myself. Knock on wood. I'm going to totally jinx myself saying this. but we like rarely ever fight, right? I know that sounds so cliche, you know, like kind of a cliche thing to say when you're in a relationship, like, oh, we rarely fight. And da, da, da. But like we genuinely rarely ever fight. You know what I mean? And I'm very thankful for that. And any time that we've had any kind of disagreement, and I can actually safely say this with 100% fact that out of all of my relationships, whether all my living relationships, especially, I have never been with a partner that I've been able to communicate issues with. You know what I'm saying? Like an adult, like, oh my God, that's a thing. You can actually discuss things, because I've dated people in the past that just wanted to fight me. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There was never, ever any kind of conclusion or anything when it came from a disagreement.
Or decide to be a crazy person when they decided they didn't trust you for some reason. Because I remember
exactly.
Well, instead of having an adult conversation about like what's going on with your relationship, decide to be a crazy person, which then in turn conditions you to have issues as well. Because like, oh, this is how people react. So it's hard to like adjust to someone who's willing to like have an adult conversation with you.
Right. Exactly. And like with my boyfriend now, we actually, when there's something going on, and it's never anything super dramatic, you know what I mean? But if there's something going on, we both are able to address it accordingly. Like, hey, da 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 da, and then we have a fucking conversation. And I'd be lying if I said that there was never, a moment or two where we were both upset and whatever. But in the end, we always are able to discuss it like fucking adults. We're only fucking human, man. You know what I mean? But regardless of that, we still rarely ever fucking fight. Like even in the first 2 years of being together, fighting was pretty much non-existent. You know what I mean? But with that being said, being stuck together 24/7, like you would think that we would want to like kill each other, but we actually have not, surprisingly. And like I said, we have friends that are like to make jokes, like, oh yeah, we went from fighting, this amount of times to twice a week now. And I'm like, what? Like, I think it's just one of those things where we just have the kind of relationship where we don't have that kind of tension where we annoy each other, I suppose, to the point where we want to fucking kill each other, surprisingly. Like we kind of mind our business during the day. He works from home, I do my own thing, I stream, whatever, you know what I mean? And it's interesting because while we do spend 24/7 together, right? Technically we don't really like spend time together until like the end of the day, like in the evening, because we're both doing our own thing, even though we happen to be in the same house.
Well, and it's good that you guys are in a comfortable enough place with your relationship where you don't like feel the need to entertain each other. Because like, I can't really talk from personal experience because like, fuck, I'm garbage at relationships. But I could fully see like at the beginning of a relationship, like not being comfortable enough to each other to be in the same space without being like, it's my responsibility to entertain my partner.
Right.
So it's good that you guys are in a position where like, oh, we can exist in the same space and we don't have to interact.
Right. Absolutely, man. So I guess you could call it, healthy, I guess.
I mean, it's definitely healthier than some. I was actually just surprised because while you're telling the story, I Googled it real quick. I was expecting to see the divorce rates on the rise in 2020, but it's actually the first year in like 20 years they're on the decline, but it's probably because people are just afraid to get out of their situations.
This is also true because and I know people in this situation. That's the only reason why I'm about to say what I'm going to say. Because people are out of work, for example, maybe, and this is like one example of a situation, one partner might be working, the other one might not be. And if the relationship has a lot of tension and it's rocky, or it was already rocky before the pandemic, so now it's just become even more tense because of whatever building up to that point, right? That partner that isn't working is going to be afraid to leave because they don't have any money to leave because they're not working. And if they do leave, how are they going to make money to work because they're not working? So it's like all these different factors kind of build up. So I do agree with what you just said, that there are a lot of people out there that feel like they're stuck because they have nowhere to go. and nobody to take care of them. And that's really sad, man.
That's
really sad.
And also divorces aren't free, so.
And that's also true. I know this from 2 hands of experience.
Do not envy you there at all. Do not.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm very happy I got left at the altar.
I forgot about that. Oh my God. Vegas, right?
Yeah, during AVN. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it also wasn't a serious relationship or a relationship at all, so it's fine. Like,
right.
For any new listeners or like, oh, I'm just here to hear Cruz. Don't weep for me. It was a drunken, like, it was a drunken, like, fucking thing. It wasn't like, oh my God, my girlfriend left me at the altar. It was literally like someone I knew who I had sex with once, and I decided to get drunkenly married, and then she left me at the altar. It's fine. It's good. It's good. But holy fuck. Like, yeah, I can, on one hand, like, I'm envious of the people who would like, oh, I got my partner. Like, I got someone who I'm down with, who I can spend time with. But it's also like, I could see this being hyper stressful. And I'm just talking from my personal experience. Like,
yeah.
Like, I want to be left the fuck alone sometimes.
But see, I think what also helps in my situation is that neither of us are clingy, you know? And it was never like that ever in our relationship. So I think that's why it works for us, because we know that, like, oh, you know, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And there are people, and I know other couples where that's kind of a thing where it's like, she won't leave me alone or he won't leave me alone. And it's kind of getting to me, you know what I mean? And it just kind of drives people insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a constant honeymooner. So, like, that is all part of the honeymoon phase. And like, I never make it out of the honeymoon phase, so I don't know what it's really like to like just coexist with someone and be like, oh yeah, you're here. Because it's always like, when I'm with someone and like, oh, we're together, we're tearing each other's clothes off, we're like, you know, the honeymoon phase, like,
right.
And then when the honeymoon's over, I'm like, oh yeah, or she's like, one of us is like, oh, this is no longer fun, we're out. That's my MO. So like, the idea of like being in the honeymoon phase with someone during this, like, is kind of like, on one hand, like, oh, hey, that sounds really nice. And like, it sounds nice to like have someone like be intimate with and spend time with. On the other hand, it's like, oh, I have 100 things to do and I would really like to be left the fuck alone right now. And that sounds miserable, not having to be able to do that. Like, I have this stupid Fortnite video to edit. Can you please fuck off to the other room, please?
Don't you have something you could be doing right now?
Like, literally anything else. Please, anything else. But because I'm a crazy person, you can't be too neglectful, because then I will start reading into it.
Oh my God.
Because I'm a crazy person. You don't like me
anymore? What the fuck?
I mean, I won't get all emo about it, but it will start like, my brain will start racing, be like, so wait a minute, did I do something wrong here? Did I fuck up? Like, what's going on? Fuck. I gotta fix this. I did something wrong. I gotta fix it. Like, I am a crazy person. I know this. So, ladies, if you would like to slide into my DMs, feel free. But just know what you're signing up for. Just know what you're signing up for.
There you go. At least you put it all out there, man.
Oh, yeah. If you're too affectionate, I'll freak out. If you're not affectionate enough, I'll try to figure out why. I'm a crazy person.
See, and that's the thing, too, though. Like, with my boyfriend now, right? Like, I'm incredibly happy. And like I said, I've never been in a relationship like this where, you know, like, communication is not an issue. You know what I'm saying? So if I were to picture myself in the pandemic with any of my past exes,
oh God,
I could see myself packing up my shit and being like, bye. Cause like, man. I mean, you know, some of my exes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like, I'm picturing, like, I was picturing how bad some of those scenarios went under like ideal circumstances.
Yeah. So yeah. I just, you know, like, it's like, you don't, I shouldn't think about that. But when I do think about it, I'm like, oh my God, if this pandemic happened like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, even, like, I would probably I would have packed my shit within like the first month and been like, all right, I'm good. Have a nice life. Bye.
Like, Slayer, can I crash on your couch? Like, yeah, Cruz, no problem. Like, as long as you need to stay. Like,
I'm like, all right, I'm coming over, man. All right, cool.
like, you're welcome to crash on the couch as long as you just have to be back on the podcast. That's the deal. Sorry.
All right, fine, sure, that's fine.
But like, I am sure there are people going through it. I'm sure there are people that are like in flat out abusive relationships that are afraid to leave, which is just
that's another
terrifying.
thing. Then, not to take this conversation down a dark path, but like that's another thing that kind of sucks. That has the attention has been brought up on. Is people that are in abusive relationships that are stuck, that feel like they have nowhere to go. I've had to try to talk people out of it. Like, okay, not out of it, but like trying to help them into actually push it. I totally used the wrong phrasing. Trying to convince them to actually push forward with leaving. Like, no, you can do this. Just fucking find someone that you can stay with. And that, you know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of people always talk about how like, oh, it should be easy to walk away from something like that. And I've actually learned something since the pandemic started. Because one thing that I lacked, and I'm okay with admitting this, was empathy. I lacked empathy a lot. Whenever I would see or hear about somebody, whether it was a friend or somebody I knew going through something, I'd be like, what the fuck? I would never do that, and I would just start kind of go down the list about how they're wrong and I'm right and this and that and the other thing. But since the pandemic has started, I've had a lot of time to reflect on a lot of the things, the issues that I have strong feelings on. And this is something that, I've come to the realization that like, it's not easy for certain people to just walk away from it. And it's kind of scary and it's kind of sad.
Well, and on top of it, it's always a lot easier to say I would do this when you're not emotionally wrapped up in it. Like,
true.
When
but
you
also, yes.
Like
also,
when
yes.
you have a partner who's gaslighting you, where it's like, obviously, if it's shitty 24/7, most people are going to bounce. Like, it's the partner that's like, oh, they're an abusive piece of shit, and then all of a sudden they gaslight you and like treat you like $1 million fucking dollars. Like, oh, they've changed.
He really, or she,
yeah.
he or she really loves me.
Yeah,
I can't leave now.
They really love me. It's not worth the risk to go out there and like, and the thing about it is, in the best situations, in the ideal world, pre-pandemic, it is hard enough to like show your friends the light. Like, no, you are with a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I'm not emotionally wrapped up in this. I can see it. You can't. You can't convince anyone to take that first step out the door until they're fucking ready for it. It's much like addiction, where it's like, you can confront someone about having a fucking problem, but they're not going to acknowledge it unless they want to make change. And that's in the best situation. This
is totally off topic because I'm a little upset that this took 2 hours to figure out. But now I know why my face was blown out. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. So see how my face is blown out right now? And then, oh, look, it's not blown out. It's because I had my fucking goddamn window open. My Google Chrome was open on my because I have two monitors. My monitor on the left, I had Google Chrome open, so it was a white screen on Google. And I just minimized it because it occurred to me. I was like, why is my face so blown out? Because it never looks like this when I stream. Also, I'm using my other webcam. But so for those watching the video version, yeah, I mean, I still need to fix my light, but still, that was what was causing my face to... Okay, anyways, now that I'm done...
Thank you, Chasey.
Kicking myself in the ass for that.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, I didn't mean to run down this fucking dark path, but it's real.
No.
Super fucking real.
But it's true, though. It's true, though. Like, I'm sitting here talking about how, oh yeah, I'm so happy that I'm in a very healthy, happy relationship. And, we haven't tried to kill each other and this and that. But it's like on the flip side of things, there are people out there that are in situations where they're either afraid to leave, can't leave, all of the above. You know what I mean? And, I feel for them, dude. I feel for them. Kind of sucks.
I do too. If I know you, I'll put you up on my couch.
That's what I told one friend. I was like, I wish that you lived closer because I would totally let you crash my couch, man. You know, after you get tested for COVID. But yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, go get a test, isolate. You're welcome to crash on my couch then. Like, it's fine. Well,
Yeah.
I'll help you get out of that situation if that's what need be. Especially with my roommate being out of town. Like, be a different story. My roommate was here, like, no, I got to worry about the roommate, and they got to be. It's a whole to do.
Yeah.
But right now, Matt Slayer's home of Wayward Souls is open for business. You too could be on this couch.
You need to make a little plaque that says that. You know.
No, because I don't want to accept every Wayward Soul. Not all of them. Like, there's still a qualification process. It's like we still have to screen you. Like, man. Are you going to be shooting up on my couch? No, I don't want you here. Like,
oh God.
Like, I don't care if you're a junkie as long as you don't negatively affect anyone else. But the minute you bring it into my house, you are negatively affecting other people. So no.
Right. Well, have you ever had, since the pandemic has started, have you ever had like past lovers or like exes try to like hit you up?
I'm trying to think. Yes and no. No one is full on like giving me the like, yo, so dick open for business. But that's also because like most of my actual like meaningful ex-lovers don't live in LA, so
makes sense. Yeah.
Since I've lived in LA, mostly it's been casual things with other people that were in the industry who were just like, I'm getting plenty of dick and attention. I don't need to come crawling to Slayer. And like anyone who's like from Chicago or anything like that, who's like, it's been like, hey, I miss you. Like, well, that's cool. Miss you too. With some of them, not like all of them. But,
yeah.
Miss you too. You live 2,000 miles away, so hope you're doing okay. Like, it's no one
slippery slope.
Yeah, no, like
slippery slope.
The big X that like I had a falling out with about a year ago at this point. I have been good, and no matter how fucked up I've gotten over the last year, I've not unblocked her or opened up any temptation there. So
good for you.
Oh yeah,
that is some strong willpower, my friend.
no, it's not so much willpower. It's just like I know how absolute shit I felt at the tail end of that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's in store if I open up that door again. So
yeah.
So let's not do that. Like, as much as it's really good times when it's good, it's really hyper bad for me when it's bad. So I'm just gonna accept that it's gonna be bad and not do that.
Well, that's smart, then. That's smart.
Occasionally I'm smart. Occasionally. Mostly I'm just, hollering at people that, like, should not be hollering at, and just like, yeah, this is dumb. But this is what's available. This is dumb. And if you're one of the people I'm hollering at, don't take it personally. It's dumb. It's dumb.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm honest about it. Like,
I had a guy hit me up at the very beginning of the pandemic who I met one time in like 2015, the end of 2015, maybe early 2016. So that's like 5 years ago, 5 or 6, depending on what actual year. But I know it was like 2015 or 2016. Met him that long ago. We didn't have sex. Okay. He fucking hit me up. And I was just kind of like, why the hell are you texting me, dude? And that's when I realized, oh my God, this pandemic is like making dudes so stir crazy that they're hitting up chicks that they never even had sex with, that they met 5-6 years ago. What the fuck?
Oh, dude, he's just going down the list. Your name's Annie. You're at the top.
I'm like, okay, alphabetical order. I get it. I'm at the top of the list. But goddamn. But what's funny about this particular fellow is that, I initially feed into shit like that. It was just kind of like, I'm just going to ignore it. But then he hit me up again. So then I texted him back and I said, hey, yeah, it's been a very long time. And then I nicely told him I have a boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, because I knew why he was hitting me up. There was no assumptions made there. I'm like, you're fucking texting me. We haven't seen each other and we never even had sex with each other. Like, I know why you're hitting me up. You know what I mean? So I nicely told him, hey, dude, I have a boyfriend. And then, of course, well, is your boyfriend down to like let someone watch? And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, dude, and I kind of got fed up. And again, I normally don't feed into this kind of shit. But I straight up told him, dude, we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic. And like, yeah, my boyfriend and I are not into that shit. So good luck with your fucking whatever it was. I can't remember how the conversation ended. I just remembered nicely telling him I have a boyfriend. No, we're not into that. Like, you know, be safe out there. I think that's what it was. I said, be safe out there, dude. We are in a pandemic. You know what I mean? But then when I said that, I guess he thought the conversation could be continued. So he's like, yeah, I know, pandemic's kind of scary. I'm trying to, stay safe myself. And I'm like, that's why you're texting me randomly. You're trying to keep yourself safe. Now, to my point, the conversation ended, didn't hear from him again. He hit me up again. And so we're almost a year into the pandemic, right? So that was like almost a year ago that he first hit me up. He hit me up recently and was just like, hey, I'm like, I'm not responding to this. Nope. I already told you my situation, bro. Not interested. I don't care if you have a girlfriend and you want to like do whatever. Like, no. But it's just crazy and interesting to me how like, I don't want to use the word desperation, but because he's not the only one that's hit me up, mind you. Okay. There's been other people that hit me up and I'm like, I had someone else hit me up that was like, hey, do you still got a man? And I'm like, what the fuck? do you still have a boyfriend? Are you still seeing? I had one guy that was like, are you still seeing that one dude? Or are you still and I think one person that hit me up, like this was someone that I had met 4 years ago, even like all these people are from four or 5 years ago, right? And I was dating someone else 4 years ago. So I'm like, which guy is he referring to? And because I couldn't remember who the fuck this person was that was hitting me up. And it's just interesting to me how I'm like, why are you hitting me up? It's been years.
So I got a question. Do you think telling dudes you got to shoot your shot is a form of toxic masculinity?
You gotta wait. Do I think telling guys you have to shoot your shot is
like
toxic masculinity?
Dudes are always told like, oh man, you never know, you got to shoot your shot. Do you think that's like?
So here's the thing. When I used to work as a dating coach, I used to quote what's his fucking name, Wayne Gretzky, with like you lose 100% of all the shots that you don't take. Right. Okay. I used to tell all the guys when I used to work as a dating coach this quote because it's like a numbers game. When it's like if you get rejected, fuck it. There's always someone else that you can fucking talk to. You know what I mean? So do I think that telling guys you guys shoot? I don't think so. Because it's like what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is example. Hey, I have a boyfriend. No, I'm not interested. No, we don't swing. No, we're not interested in putting on a show for you, blah, 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 blah. Thank you. Have a nice day. That's the worst that could happen. So yeah, absolutely fucking shoot your shot. But the problem is, if I tell you I have a boyfriend now, cool, hope you have a nice life, whatever the fuck the case may be, right? It doesn't mean continuously harass me.
Well, obviously not.
So that's the problem. But to answer your question, I mean, I wouldn't consider that toxic masculinity because I'm the one that fucking taught guys like, hey, you lose 100% of all the shots that you do not take. Which would you say is that the same kind of idea? You got to shoot your shot.
Well,
right?
Yeah, it is, but it's also like it should be a little more nuanced than that. I think because it's like,
good point. That's a fair point.
Like read the fucking room. Like,
well, so here, let me ask you this then, because like. Sure, these guys that, for example, these guys that hit me up and it's been like 4 or 5 years, 6 years, maybe even, right? Yeah. Like, would you ever fucking hit somebody up that you never hooked up with, that you met, maybe you hung out with them, but nothing ever happened and you never saw them again? Like, what would you ever consider hitting up a woman and
Fuck
being
no.
like, hey, I know it's been a long time, but what's up?
Fuck no. Hell, I don't care if it's platonic or romantic. If I met you once 6 years ago and we've never spoken again, I'm probably never going to speak to you again unless I run into you randomly in person and be like, hey, remember that one time? Like,
because here's my whole thing. This is my whole thing talking about this right now, right? Because like I could easily say, oh, I'm probably the first person on this list that he's going down. I could be the 50th person that he's going down on this list. Maybe he's so desperate. Maybe he's not that desperate. Maybe he's just trying to see who he's just going down the list of girls, whatever the case may be.
I mean, you're a public figure. For all you know, he listened to your radio show. And, oh yeah, I have her number.
Exactly. For me personally, I feel like the issue is, and I hate saying this, but it's just something that I've dealt with just being who I am. And when I say being who I am, a woman who formerly worked in the adult industry and has had a reputation, obviously is sexually open-minded, right? And I feel like the two specific guys that I'm speaking of that hit me up that I've not spoken to in 5 years, whatever, you know what I mean? It almost felt like, okay, we're in a pandemic. And it's possible that all these women that they've had relations with are probably, because it's true, there are a lot of women in the middle of the pandemic, and there's guys too, but more so for me, of whom I know, there's more so women that are like, we're in the middle of the pandemic and having sex is really not that important to me. So I'd rather just not try to pursue any kind of sexual relationship or otherwise with any man, right? And so, it almost felt like the first guy that hit me up that was like, oh, you have a boyfriend? Well, how would he feel about me watching? You know what I mean? It was just kind of a weird thing to say, especially because it's like, we don't have that kind of history. Like we met and hung out one time. We never hooked up. And you're going to straight up hit me up 5 years later and be like, hey, what's going on? And I was okay, well, I have a boyfriend. Leave me alone. Okay, well, would he be down to, X, Y, Z? No, actually, no, absolutely fucking not. So when I see someone hitting me up this way, it makes me feel like, is he speaking to me this way because it's me? Like, would he speak this way to any other, like, would he speak this way to a porn star that he got the phone number of, 5 years ago or whatever, and probably thinks, oh, well, she does porn, so she'd be DTF. Maybe I'll hit her up because, people's perceptions, the stigma and like the stereotypes of, sex workers, whether you're a former sex worker or a current sex worker, people dehumanize us so often that it's not wild to think, oh, he's hitting me up because he thinks that just because I'm a former porn performer that like, I'm probably going to be so crazy to be like, oh yeah, come over and fuck me. You know what I mean? When that's like far from the case.
Well,
and that's
even
why
if you didn't have a boyfriend, it was probably far from the case. You didn't fuck him in the first place. And like, not shaming you in any way, shape, or form, but it is well documented record that when Cruz does not have a boyfriend, Cruz tends to get laid.
Right.
So
but the thing that was crazy, and the thing that was crazy to me is that like I haven't talked to this person in 5 years and we didn't even hook up.
Right.
So it's like for him to just randomly hit me up, it kind of bothered me a little bit. I was just like, what the fuck? But I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? It's not a shocker to me. But if we really wanted to like go down that road of trying to analyze, well, why did he hit me up? Am I just the 5th, 6th, 10th, 50th, 100th person on this list that he's just hitting up? Is he that bored that he's like, oh, because like I said, a lot of women and men are like, no, we're in the middle of the pandemic. I'm not trying to fucking get my dick wet. I'm not trying to fuck. You know what I mean? And it's possible that maybe he just didn't have a long list of women that, or maybe his exes or whoever were just like, nah, man, I'm good. And then he's like, ooh, who can I hit up on my phone book that I know will probably be down? And he probably saw my name and was like, let me hit up this bitch.
Yeah, I mean,
and
that's just a crazy thought process to me in the first place. The whole like, okay, the hitting you up out of the blue is crazy to me in the first place. I just would never do that to someone I was never involved with, first and foremost. But then rolling with the initial rejection to be like, yo, can I just jerk off while you have sex with your significant other? It's just like mind-blowingly disconnected from reality. Like, just boggles my mind.
And that's where like it kind of went south for me, because it was just kind of like, okay, I could easily equate you hitting me up for you're just a horny guy that was like, ooh, that's someone I haven't talked to in like, 5 fucking years. Let me just fucking give it a shot. You know what I mean? But then when he took the conversation, and I was like, yeah, I have a boyfriend and, I'm not, we're in the middle of a pandemic, dude. You know what I mean? Like stay safe out there. Cause I kind of said it, I was trying to be cheeky by telling him, be careful out there, guy. You know what I mean? Almost kind of like taking a jab at him, like, how dare you? But not really, you know what I mean? Because I get it, you know what I mean? Like, I can't say what it would be like for me if I was single in this situation, because we all know, like how I am.
Page.
Yeah. And I feel like, I would take the necessary precautions. Yes. But, again, I don't know. But it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me.
You're also a lot nicer than that, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, you should have been like, all right. Now that you mention that, yeah, we are totally down. Go rent us a room at the Ritz-Carlton and like just get him to like do this extravagant things and just not show.
That'd be really funny.
Yeah, book us a room at the Ritz. Let us know what room number. Put just give him a fake name to put on the room too. Like put this in the room so we can get in, and then wait for us there. We'll meet you there, and then just never show.
And then just never show up.
And then when he said, "What the fuck?" Like, well, we got caught in traffic. Sorry.
Oh, you were at that Ritz-Carlton? I meant the one,
I meant
this other part of town.
I meant this one at the marina, not downtown. Oh, my bad.
Fuck.
I would fuck with people like that. I just would, because if you're gonna come at me like that outlandishly, I'm gonna try to get a lull about it, because I want to take those pictures that you send to me and then be like, and this is now podcast material. Thank you.
Man.
But that's just how my mind works. But I also don't have people 5 years later beating down my door being like, yo, I want to watch you fuck someone else.
That was what was wild to me, dude. It's one thing, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It'd be one thing if I hooked up with the guy and, he remembered that I blew his mind. You know what I mean? And was like, oh, fuck. You know what I'm saying? Thing is, we never had sex. We never hooked up. We just hung out. We literally hung out one fucking time. And I remember I kind of remember the circumstances. I think what happened was we couldn't hook up because we were somewhere and we had no place to hook up. I can't remember. It was a weird situation. And never saw him again. So it's just kind of wild to me that you're literally hitting me up. Nothing ever happened between us, and you're hitting me up. Like, are you that bored? Like, to me, my initial thought was, are you that bored that you're hitting me up? Like, why are you hitting me up? But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, maybe he can't get laid in the middle of a pandemic because nobody is willing to put themselves at risk. And so then he was like, oh, I bet this chick will. But the reason why he thinks that is possibly because, I'm a former porn performer and I probably have, no respect for myself. And I'm probably just going to be like, fuck it. But I shut it down right away. I was like, dude, I have a boyfriend and, stay safe out there.
As you should. Or I have an alternative theory. It's a wild one. Hear me out.
Okay.
His elaborate plan was just to get into your apartment to kidnap Dougie.
Oh my God, Dougie, no.
He's just here to kidnap Dougie. He saw Dougie on Instagram and was like, I want Dougie. How do I get Dougie?
You know what? Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then here's the spoiler. He actually has a girlfriend and she's the one that wants Dougie. So he tried to concoct this whole plot to just come over and steal Dougie for his girlfriend. Mm-hmm.
So we figured it out. He doesn't even really want sex. He just wants Dougie.
No. Yeah. No. He just wants Dougie. Oh my God, Douglas.
You and your boyfriend were going to start going at it. He was just going to be like, oh, good, they're in the middle of it. Just, and out the door. You'd be like, what the
That's why he suggested, that's why he asked. He's like, oh, would your boyfriend be down for me to watch? But really,
He just wants to
He's
kidnap.
like, that's gonna be my way to grab Dougie and leave.
Yep.
Man, I think we got to the bottom of this whole, mysterious 5-year later fucking conversation.
Dudes be trifling, trying to dog nap.
If you're listening, bro, we're on to you, buddy.
We figured it out. We figured out your sinister scheme.
And you can't have him.
No.
You can't have him.
No. And plus, you don't know how to handle Dougie. Dougie gets excited and you won't know what to do with that, bro.
And Dougie probably has a bigger dick than you. Because, I've never seen it, so probably.
And Dougie's dick breaks physics. It does not make sense.
Poor Doug over here is looking at me like, stop talking about my dick, Mom, okay? Oh, good God.
On that note, on the dog dick talk, I think we're going to call last call on this motherfucker. We've already been at this 2.5 hours. It's just like fucking old.
Hell yeah, man.
It's just like fucking old school in this motherfucker. We need to not wait 3 years in between episodes.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe it's been that long. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, last time you were on was 2018.
Yeah, legit. It was, I remember too, because it was after we watched, not Endgame, but Infinity War.
Yeah, it was shortly after Infinity War.
We did the podcast literally, it was the week after that weekend that we had seen. So that was April 2018 when we did that podcast.
Yeah. So that wasn't even, was that not even a video version? I think that might have been audio only.
It was audio only, but it didn't come out because I remembered we had recorded it in April. But you had so many episodes backed up that one didn't even come out until August.
Yeah, because that
came out
that was a whole controversy that we had to discover last year because you called me up hey, when did we record that? Remember?
Yeah, because I was I know we recorded that way before, and then it turned out we're talking about Infinity War, and I'm that was April of 2018.
Yeah, I know we accidentally caused some problems in your household over it.
No, not really. It was just more I said some things that didn't make any sense. And then it was oh, we recorded that in April.
Yeah,
so.
Sorry, that was before we met.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't blame past crews for past crews actions.
Well, I'm a changed woman now. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm in a very, very healthy, loving relationship.
Look,
and I would not trade that for anything.
Nor should you.
Yep.
But Annie fucking Cruz, where can they find you on all the fucking things?
And all the things, you can find me at Annie fucking Cruz on Twitter, at Annie Cruz on the gram. I also have a new wrestling podcast called Wrestlefestish. You can find that on all the things. It's good times.
She has a Twitch stream too. Support it.
Oh shit, fuck me. Oh yeah, and I'm on Twitch. The easiest way to find it is actwitch.com. Because my name is different on there. It's actually Frankie Ray. I use my real name on there. So in case you get confused and it doesn't say Annie, that's me. I'm Frankie on Twitch, actwitch.com.
Hell yeah. And as always, you can find me at Matt_Slayer on Twitter, Matt Slayer on Instagram, Matt F. Slayer on Facebook, twitch.tv/Matt F. Slayer. You can find the podcast at And Now We Drink on Twitter, and Now We Drink _ on Instagram. And until next week, drink up, motherfuckers. I promise I'll have Cruz back on before 2026 or some shit.
Hell yeah.
And we out.